Here we go. Posting that in the IRC. There it is.
Okay.
So you got the dark stain and the lighter stain. But see, look at that. Like the doors, those have fold out. They become nightstands on the side.
Ah. Whoa, almost $2,000. Oh,
Right.
boy.
But I returned that laptop. So it'll only be like $800.
Yeah.
That's one of those purchases I would never just think to spend $2,000 on. Okay, so now what about this Nantucket Murphy bed? A little bit up.
The light.
Yeah, the smaller ones, like that.
Yeah, I don't know. How do they fold out? Oh, they're like multi-part.
I bet that sucks.
Oh yeah, because you're gonna have to use their specialty mattress probably.
Yeah.
Hey Justin. Eating
Yo,
something?
what up?
I guess I'll just assume that the other one can fit. It's got to be able to. Oh, so I guess the choice then is dark stain or light stain. Because there you go. If you look down, there's a light stain.
I kind of like the look of this light one.
Yeah.
The dark one is like a little too. It's not dark enough, I think, for a dark stain, and so it just kind of looks weird.
Yeah.
Too much light for a dark stain.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the dark stain though. I think I'm gonna go with the dark stain.
So wait a minute. What's the because normally your go-to is the guest room, right?
Right, but then we have company over, and then I have to ruin Bonnie's night by being there, by showing up. And so, like, I know I sleep. Sorry, go ahead.
This is the backup to the guest room. Like on most nights, it would still be the restroom or the guest room, and then
Should call it the rest
on
room.
nights
That's the room.
Yeah.
That's the room where I can get some rest.
And you park in a driveway.
Yeah. Hey, Justin, can you goose it? Give me that goose.
Yeah, sure. Hold on.
Just a little bit.
Check.
Talking over. You
1, 2,
talking
3.
over? Talking over. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
You.
Hi, Andrew. Bye, Andrew.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get the dark one. I think I'm ready.
Okay. And this is just in lieu of getting like just a cot.
Well, yeah, because I think yes,
What are we getting?
a Murphy bed to put in my closet so that I could sleep in the closet and not disturb Bonnie on nights that we have guests over. Because normally I crash in the guest room.
How far away are we from? You know, the house next door, Bonnie, is available.
Just when our first
excuse me,
house
how
is-
far are we? Brian, you know, the house next door is available.
I have had a legit thought about like, man, what if we just bought another house in the neighborhood and we could just lie and tell the neighbors that we're getting divorced, and then secretly we can run Bizarre Magic Inc. out of that other house and have it be just
Hey,
all.
it's real quick. Apple's demoing their AR right now and their live demo.
Oh, right
really?
on.
Yeah, give me a sec. I was listening to it on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be Brian. I'm with you. My parents love each other. My parents are still together after all these years, but one of the things they love about vacations
Now,
is they get the other bed in the hotel room.
Yeah, yeah.
now
They've
got some
unveiled
steam
AR
in
kit.
there coming
cool.
off the cup. Now I can add other objects to the scene, and these things can actually interact.
Holy
Let's add a
crap,
lamp.
just to do that at the API
And I
level.
want you to watch when I turn the lamp on the dynamic shadows here.
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's cool.
move the cup and watch how the shadow moves in relationship
Let's get rid
to
of
the
that
light.
chat.
Here, it's really pretty incredible.
That's neat.
Now, I can add additional objects. Let's add a vase to this scene. I mean, isn't that just incredible? You guys are actually in the shot here with these objects all in augmented reality. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of the technology involved. It's really pretty incredible. Now, how do we do it? Well, ARKit provides fast and stable motion tracking, and it uses all of the sensors and the camera on your device to do this. It actually finds planes like floors and tables. It's able to estimate ambient light, which helps us with the rendering.
See,
It
it was-
also helps with scale. You notice that cup?
there was no little QR thing, whatever, to aim it at. It just took the real room. It's like full room sensing.
Wow.
Remember we're talking about the next gen VR not needing to have the lighthouse type things?
Right.
Yeah.
That's built in.
That's awesome. When they were showing off some of their the new Metal 2 stuff for editing VR content also,
Yeah.
I'm sure this ties into that on some level. Very cool.
Well, I mean, it's a.
But did you see that
It's,
they can?
it's shipping now. I'm just saying. What's that?
Oh, nothing.
What'd you say, Bryce?
Oh, I was saying, did you see that you can make live photos loop? I was gonna
Yeah.
minimize.
Excited,
That,
and
that
we are just-
yeah, that's cool too.
Kia, of course, is placing furniture everywhere, and it's really super awesome. But check this out. What you can do with Batman Lego. I mean, how fun is this? Right on the
Bryce,
table,
more
a
your
Lego
language.
with a live Lego Batman, and you can explode the Lego like you could never do in the real world, pan around it, and interact with Batman right there. It's really awesome. And then Pokemon Go. Well, we've all seen it before, but check it out with ARKit. The Pokemon is so real. He's right there on the ground. As the ball bounces, it actually bounces right there in the real environment. It's
That's a
AR
cool
like you've
addition.
never seen it before. Now, there's one of these that I think you just really need to see live. Now, Wingnut AR is director Peter Jackson's new production company. It's dedicated to producing AR content. We all know Peter Jackson from his incredible cinematic work on movies like the Lord of the Rings series, but he's now really excited about AR. And to show you what he has in the works, I'm thrilled to introduce Wingnut AR's creative director, Alistair Cool. Alistair.
Thanks, Craig. We're really excited to share an exclusive sneak peek at something we've been working
Oh,
on. With
boo.
ARKit,
No
with
New
advanced
Zealand
special
accent.
brand or tracking markers, it just works. Dan's here with me from Wingnut AR, so let's
He's
take
wearing shoes.
Here we're using ARKit to detect the plane of the table, estimate its size, and lock our content onto the surface. And since this is augmented reality, you folks are all in the shot too.
Holy.
That's cool.
This is all rendered in real time using the power of Unreal Engine 4. We're at a remote outpost on a desolate world where supplies are scarce. Airships come here to refuel, get repairs, and to trade. These are our townsfolk. They're expecting some visitors soon, so they're all starting to get ready for their arrival. Except for this guy down here, apparently. Who hired him? That's our airships arriving now. And what's really cool here is that with the ARKit's tracking, you can get in really close and choose how to view the action. It's like you're the director of your own experience. Oh, looks like some raiders are attacking. Whoa, well, I guess that takes care of that guy.
Oh, jeez.
Wouldn't it be cool to have airship battles like this in your own living room? Oh, I think they're going to regret attacking this outpost. And another one down. And we got him.
For those of you tuning in, this is just ARKit, the new software platform that's available now on all iPads and iPhones for
But our heroes are
development.
limping away to fight another day.
It's always weird at stuff like this because, you know, the demo people, when you have a technology that opens up new stuff, the first people to do it are the people who invent the technology that don't necessarily have the vision that, you know, somebody looks at this and thinks, man, 5 years from now, I could see this working, you know. So as a result, it's always, you know, an extension of existing ideas at this phase.
Yeah, like that was a pretty cool demo, but it was, you can also tell that it was made to be looked at from one specific corner versus necessarily all around it.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I would surprise me. I don't know. I mean, because it's a shipping kit now, it's not like HoloLens where like, hey guys, wait a year and do that. And we know they're working behind the scenes on their own glasses and headsets and stuff. And so putting out this software first is a great lead into that.
Yeah. You know, people are saying, "Oh, I think Waffleophagus was saying, I want to see this in my face and not on the iPad." I think that they're probably they also agree with you, and they will probably have something in that area.
Jam-packed with great features, and I
can't
wait for you to get your hands on the new App Store.
I was doing wrestling. What else was the hotness here so far?
Amazon on Apple TV. Amazon's coming to Apple TV with Prime Video.
Later this year.
Finally made that deal, huh?
Did they say later this year? Yeah, I didn't see any hard details on that. Some new watch stuff, new computer updates. I think it sounds like they're pretty much killing off that MacBook Air and maybe that Mac Pro. Now they're doing the iMac Pro with the built-in display instead of the little trash can.
We'll see. I wonder, because for expansion stuff, but yeah, end of the year or later this year, they're going to do the iMac Pro, which looks pretty screaming fast. We'll see. As far as like doing like a daydream thing with the iPhone, something like, I think, part of Apple's sort of thing is they're, if some third party wants to come up with a cool thing, but because that ARKit has room sensing, that's just key. That's super key, because that's I spent months trying to tell you guys, no, Oculus is cool, but when you try this Vive thing and you move your head around, then it's really VR. It's whatever. And then
I don't think we weren't dismissive. We were excited.
But it was. I was trying to explain. It changes everything when you have that little bit of,
Well, I think what we were expressing was like we knew it was cool and we believed you, but we didn't have any kind of frame of reference to share with you.
Word for it.
That common ground.
Couldn't take my word for it. My literal experience cannot be your literal experience.
What are they doing new with the iPad? Even bigger?
A middle size 10.5 inch.
More middle than ever.
So it's bigger than
larger than one, but smaller than the other.
It's bigger than the normal.
Larger than the Mini, more portable than the real.
Than the Pro.
The full Pro.
Oh yeah, and it's between the Pro and the Min and the Pro and the regular, not the Mini and the regular. Huh. Cool.
I love my iPad Pro.
Waffleophagus, that's an idea. Look at this. Waffleophagus in the IRC chat is suggesting that he could just come buy a house in my neighborhood and rent me the studio space. I'm like, ooh, that sounds pretty good. That sounds like fun. Actually, hold on. Wow. I'm thinking about what we're paying in warehouse rent. Yeah, but warehouses.
Waffleophagus can't move down here. He works in like Round Rock.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be insane.
And also, he needs to close on a house like very soon, if I remember right. Ugh. By the way, congratulations to Travis. He hit his donation goal that he was looking for.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
He got a job.
Oh, double congrats.
So now he's got some cash to make it until, whenever that starts coming in.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Are there any details on the gig that you can share?
No, I don't think so, but I think it's kind of similar to what he was doing before, which is a good thing.
Great.
And I got
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. That's like that is it is impressive to me that he would take on such a humbling endeavor and do what it takes to get stuff done. Like to basically say, I'm selling off my life. Please tune in to watch this live as I sell off my life so that I can stay here.
He just finished his daily live stream stuff yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that put him at like a week and a half or so of like every day, all day, and
hustle.
New auctions getting set up. His setup with his OBS and all is crazy.
It looks great. When I peeked in, I was like, this is this doesn't look like it should only have 4 viewers.
Well, and he said it's all a browser source. It's all CSS and HTML stuff coding.
Did he write that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And yeah,
Dude, he should build that product, a web-based OBS alternative. Are you kidding me? That would be huge.
Well, it runs through OBS. It does run through OBS, but it's like.
But a web-based interface, he should make that available to the less technically savvy. That's great.
Yeah. And yeah, he wrote a notification system so that when his eBay auctions started automatically, and when he got new bids, it would pop up, and it was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where did Justin go?
Right here.
He's there.
There
He's
he
just
is.
invisible.
I got
Just invisible.
greedy. I saw Apple keynote, and then as soon as I walked off, they're like, "All right, well, fuck that Apple keynote." And I'm like, "Shit."
Give me 1 extra minute. I got you guys on the wrong.
You got us on the
Things.
wrong?
I got them on the wrongs.
We got you on the wrongs, sir.
The one wonky thing about vMix is that it doesn't have like a set consistent way of handling like multiple windows of the same thing.
Oh, so you have
So I see Skype and Skype 2, and they are not always in the order that I open them or alphabetically or anything.
Huh.
So
I'm just glad that, like with OBS and stuff, that we have these open systems that are supported by companies that are actually thriving and functioning, and they're not just like, yeah, we gave it a shot. Turn on your code over to everybody else. Good luck with it. You know.
Wait, who are you referencing right there?
Well, I mean, now, like with Twitch behind that, it's great. But you know, you've had in the past, like some of the stuff we've had, some of the other sort of like video streaming stuff like this, were just companies that were like, they tried to make it go out of it, and they were going out of it. Like, we'll open it up, you know, because we can't support it anymore. And then it sort of just goes to that decline. Because like there's just, you know, as we've known in streaming technology for like what we're trying to do in the last 10 years has been so incremental. It has been just,
Oh God.
it, you know, it's like, and I was laughing like when I'm like, I'm going to do a YouTube live stream. Like, all right, well, which video encoder do you want to plug into? I'm like, these are the same ones that were there 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're no better to use than they were then.
Well, I still can't believe that Skype is the best video conferencing solution. It's pretty garbage. It's pretty garbage.
The reason is that it is still a loss leader for many companies. It's so expensive to do video streaming that, you know, nobody can afford to. And even Amazon came out with their Chime system, and that's just for like corporate stuff. You know, Amazon has their own video streaming platform, but they're like, yeah, we're not even going to like start with like the freebie version because where's the money, you know?
weird.
Yeah. And you're already putting yourself in liability situations, and like it's just a huge headache.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll see where they go, like, because, you know, with Alexa, with being able to make calls now, annoyingly, with Hyperchat's coming, and then with you know, Amazon's going to probably try another phone.
Do you think so? That first one bombed super hard, though.
Well, it did bomb, but it was also a brand extension of Fire. I don't know that Fire, the brand, is dead. You know, I think we still think of Fire, you know,
the tablets,
Fire tablets as pretty good.
Fire Stick, sure.
They're supposed to make it fully Android store compatible.
Good, because that was super. Like
if they just had a good Android phone and it had the Amazon Word on it, and maybe it's all the same Android shit, but then one, you know, the go button for Amazon.
Well, Alexa,
know, or Alexa. But you're right, actually. Instead of the Google Assistant, you get Alexa.
Yeah. So I think there's some ways they can do some integration and stuff. So I think that's. I mean, that's not like I've heard it. It's like tech blogs have been talking about the new version of the Amazon phone.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, right? Because if like. In my mind, the best Amazon phone that they could make would be something super close to a very standard or stock Android phone. But then you've got, you know, Amazon that wants to make its own sort of differentiated thing and using the Fire branch of the OS.
The advantage I think when they initially tried it was like, oh, and we'll do our own app store and all that, and that'll be our revenue source or whatever. And that just is why it didn't want. One of the reasons it didn't succeed, and all the other they put so much tech in there it didn't need, but. If they're like, well, we're Amazon and we make money when people use Amazon and we can integrate our services in a way that's convenient, then they're at an advantage over Samsung or other people.
Yeah. I also thought it was pretty wacky that they shipped that phone with 4 cameras instead of putting a gyroscope on it.
I'm sorry, which one?
The phone, the Fire phone. The way that they did the 3D stuff was having 4 cameras.
It was just watching.
Well, it had to track
everything?
your face.
Yeah.
Oh, it was face tracking too.
Yeah, that's how it was telling where to do.
Dude, that's the buzz. That's my favorite rumor that I see on the iPhone is the facial unlock. I think that's got to be the way of the future, right? I mean, I guess you could fool it with the
Samsung has had
Livecast.
nothing but problems with it so far.
Yeah, it seems like those things are pretty easy to trick.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of anything that's not easily spoofable.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you want to do is, if you can do depth, actually do depth. That's number one, because you can fool with the photo. That's a problem. And if you can do subsurface, so if you can do infrared, subsurface, whatever, but that's going to be, it gets into this problematic thing where you have something that might work wonderfully with 78% of your population.
Yeah.
And then 22% like you have a melanin differential.
And then horrifically the trending topic of like a racist iPhone comes out where it's just like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Samsung's I think does IR, but you also want to do depth because otherwise.
Did you ever see any of those footage where they take existing movie footage and they basically just algorithmically crank up the contrast so much that you can see the beating, pulsing heart of a baby radiating, like because when you point a video camera at a baby, there is some finite amount of change as the blood pumps through the baby, right? And so basically they just crank it up to crazy, and it looks like this 3D stuff, and it's all pure software based with regular CCDs cameras.
That's pretty cool. I feel like I've heard of like similar sort of ideas of like extremely manipulating footage to see different sorts of details.
Yeah.
I've heard, I don't remember if I've ever seen this directly, but it's something I anecdotally have assumed, that some of your really, really older film stocks that they used in some of your black and white films were kind of a lot more, infrared sensitive, and you could see some more of that kind of infrared sort of details and stuff. And part of the reason why they'd wear that makeup, the do that sort of contrast is to compensate.
To eliminate that, yeah.
Wow.
Man.
Cool stuff.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. You guys want to do a show called Weird?
Yeah.
Really?
I think I do.
All right. Well, then, Andrew Main, if you can take it away, please, in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Hello, it's true. We are joined at the hip. If only we had a third being to assimilate.
That would be Justin Robert Young.
Well, hello, friends.
Welcome to the collective. Your blood will mix with ours. We are all one being.
Right now, Justin looks like Ron Burgundy's half-brother, who's, the hippest guy in Seattle.
Dude, just wait. I got my wardrobe for our Kickstarter video for Action News that we're shooting on Saturday, which is why I have the mustache. Yeah. It's gonna get more burgundy. It only gets more burgundy from here.
Oh, that's great.
This is the guy I think got fired from Des Moines because he was doing rails off of the anchor desk.
Here, wait, hold on. I'm gonna send Phil. I'm gonna send you both a picture of the outfit just so you can comment on it here.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for filling.
Hey man, I said the words all right.
We could just edit this out.
All right, so we're all on our phones right now.
Yeah, we're all eagerly waiting. So
anyway,
here's, by the way,
guys,
here's the trap you cleverly. Here's the trap you cleverly laid for yourself. Is you said, I'm going to send you a thing, so look at your phone. So instantly we look at our phones and we see all of the messages we've missed for the last 40 minutes as we've gotten ready to go. And so we're all totally distracted and unable to fill.
Was this an email thing or?
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I bet you look real Ron Burgundy-ish.
It died on the way there.
So anyway, this week on Tech Fails.
Here we go. All right, I got it. I got a thing.
Oh
yeah.
Oh damn! All right. Yeah, you guys are
Yeah,
in for
this
a
is
real
the guy
treat.
that got fired when they sent him to the local cheerleading competition to do coverage.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
A few compliments of the winning team gone awry, some glances that weren't broken, like
And then asked to interview one of the girls in the news van. It's just,
yeah. No, I think it's gonna be super fun. Really looking forward to shooting it on Saturday.
Nice. Gentlemen, look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, wait, no, that's a big-ass plane.
It's not the 11th landing stuck by Titans of Space Travel SpaceX, is it?
Nope.
Huh.
But
Is it
that's cool, too.
Is it the B-2 bombers that were involved in the Scientology origin?
I think they were DC-9s.
Yeah, I thought they were DC-10s.
Hey, the DC-9s? Yeah, whatever.
DC-10s, yeah, sorry. No, and I just clicked something on my screen and everything went full screen here, which is not what I want. So what I'm talking about is, and yes, by the way, side note is that, yeah, SpaceX, had another rocket launch, had another landing, but this time they reused a Dragon capsule, which was a first.
Yeah, I didn't know that was was there a technological breakthrough that made that possible, or is that just something we could have been doing for a long time?
I mean, considering these things land in the ocean, they have to have a lot of refurbishment done on them.
Right.
And I guess like the first time, like they landed a Dragon, like the batteries, the salt water, all that stuff. So they have to do refurb on that. And that's what they're working for their Generation 2, the Dragon 2, is to make that easier. But yeah, that's nobody else. I mean, short of the upper stage being reusable, the shuttle, and then you have the X-34, and then, the Buran sort of, space plane, which never quite achieved orbit the Russians made, but that's the challenge. The Buran actually had like less loss of tiles, I think, than the shuttle, but of course I don't think it never carried people into orbit. So anyhow, I digress, and I never carried a payload, so that could be a factor. But anyhow, side note to that. Point is, yes, very cool. Dragon got redone, another SpaceX launch. They seem to be back to a good cadence here, which is great. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Paul Allen. Paul Allen, Microsoft gazillionaire, and largely he's a guy he's one of the reasons why we're here streaming right now, because I think that Paul Allen funded Tech TV, which helped Leo Laporte build an even bigger audience, which then helped him create Twit, which then certainly was a launching pad for you guys and doing live streaming, which then helped Weird Things, etc. So, thanks, Paul. Paul Allen has unveiled, they showed it, they rolled it out of the hangar for the first time, the largest airplane in the world. This thing is massive.
Wait, bigger than the Spruce Goose?
Did I stutter? Was there a hiccup here, Brian? Was the Skype all jumbly?
If it was, I would blame Paul Allen.
Airplane in the world.
How
ever?
Wait. All right. I mean, I guess there's always going to be a reason to have it, right? But like, how big are we talking here?
We're talking really, really, really big, bigger than the Spruce Goose. But you're like, wait. But before we show up any photos and so why would you have the biggest airplane in the world?
If you
to literally just to show it off. And
no. Here's what I think. When you get to a certain size, in the short term, you're going to have some kind of regular fuel, but long term, you could get closer and closer to this idea of like, I don't know, solar cells running it or something this is like, I assume, meant to be a permanent air installation that is providing internet or something.
No, and no. And actually, thanks chat room for spoiling it, by the way. Good job, guys. When I quiz them on this, don't give them the answers, because this is where we might come up with some brilliant, yes, the link says what it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a link. Yeah, it's a very descriptive link. Point is that, because we could have had brilliance here, guys. They could have come up with some new solution that we didn't even think about. I mean, it's Justin and Brian. I know that.
It's probably safe to tap out. We just would have got confused with me sending another photo.
I mean, basically, I mean, let's face facts. I was pretty much describing the Shield helicarrier. I just assume that's got to happen.
Brian, I want to hear more of your theories on this because I'm into this. I will support this endeavor.
Your idea, Brian, was that let's just have a space station in our atmosphere.
Well, so let's think about this, right? There's a couple of different ways to do it. You could inflate it with gas, but you're going to lose that gas over time, and your Zeppelin's going to, eventually get hurt. But it's if you
also what are we, a steampunk villain? Come on.
But I know that man, I want to say half a decade ago there was some story of the first glider or first solar powered plane that was able to travel all the way around the Earth. And it seems like as materials get better and, evil geniuses get billionaire, then it seems like you could build essentially, let's say something, the Spruce Goose was supposed to be a football field wide. Let's say it's literally the size of 2 football fields, and it's made of a structure just covered in cells to where you could take a 3-2 bedroom house and just keep it perpetually, because there are certain tiers areas of the atmosphere that are fairly consistently weather trouble free, and as long as you avoid any storms, which would be easy enough in an artificial intelligence age, you could just live in the air for forever.
So yes, and that would be cool. In the meantime, I think we mentioned before, Larry Page is building his humongous airship, which we can talk about that next if we haven't. But so this Paul Allen airship is part of his ambitious effort, and he's teaming with, I think he's also an investor in Virgin Galactic. He wants to use it to launch rockets. He wants to use this thing to take rockets to a higher altitude and then launch them, so that you can save fuel costs from your first stage. You still need a first stage, but it's a much, much higher capacity.
Can I tell you, this is an idea that I had at the age of 8 years old. I saw a picture of the space shuttle on the back of
and you became a magician, Brian.
747
tech pioneer.
But here's my point: it's one of those things that's so intuitively obvious. You think well, why not just blast the rocket off from closer to space or whatever?
Well, we have been doing that since the 50s, but that's yes, true. Yes,
but that's my point. Is that it's obviously a good idea. It's just it's inside of me as an 8-year-old Brian who's very happy that his intuition was correct and that it's a good idea.
So,
congrats to 8-year-old Brian.
if you bother to pick up, everybody at Schwood online. On Twitter, rather, just go ahead and just add Schwood, say congratulations to 8-year-old Brian.
I'm just trying to portray general enthusiasm for this idea.
I'm saying, all right, we'll give you credit. You don't got to ask for it. We're giving you credit. Brian thought of this at 8 years old.
And we won't bring up that if he'd bothered to go get an encyclopedia, he would have understood this was a thing that was done. But that's fine. That's fine. This is totally, totally fine. So yes, there is and there's an alternate version where Brian was going to the magic shop, but he went over and computer store.
Maybe I should become a scientist.
And Brian is, meanwhile, Justin, Brett, and I are talking about billionaire Brian Brushwood just unveiled his rocket launch plane today. And then I'm like, when I was a kid, I was thinking about that too, more Brushwood news. The Brushwood electric car.
Did you see how there was some protest? I think they were protesting the Trump decision about the pulling out of the Paris Accord or whatever it is. But somebody just had a sign that said "Elon save us." Yeah. I thought that was great that he's reached that level of public notoriety.
He and George R. Martin should start a club of unreasonable expectations, that we have to deal with. So the plan with this is that, and this was interesting. We talked about this actually a couple years ago when Paul Allen first unveiled the project to build this big, huge plane to be able to launch rockets from. So just as 8-year-old Brian would explain, the advantage is the higher altitude you have to, so much of your fuel is used to get past your first 50,000 feet, 40,000 feet is to get past there. And up until the reusability of the boosters, it seemed like the only way that it was really going to work to get any sort of reusability or to increase your efficiency was by some vehicle to take you to a higher altitude. And planes that would launch rockets and stuff was, a thing that had been thought of. Elon Musk is like, well, it introduces inefficiency because you have your plane at some other Elon Musk thinks about it literally from the point of view, well, my plane's at this other location, my rocket's over at this location, and I'm still going to need another stage. And so his engineering decision came to the first stage reusable, which people thought was impossible. And it turns out that it may not be impossible to reland a first stage. Newsflash. But Paul Allen wants to take this approach, and this would allow for, even if you could, the advantage of this plane is you could use that with, a rocket and actually have a get even more altitude, carry even more payload up there, because it's almost acting like another stage to it and another reusable stage to it. But when they first announced this project a couple years ago, it was very curious, because in the press announcement, it said that Paul Allen was developing this and it had a partnership with
Elon Musk.
Yeah, SpaceX. Initially, they said they were going to be trying to use it to launch Falcon 9s.
Wow.
And then I think that Elon realized that sort of evaporated when Falcon 9 first stage reusability became more and more viable. And also, one of the things that's happened to the Falcon 9 is it's almost twice as powerful as when it first started. They've increased so much more power out of the system. So.
Okay, before we move too far off of the subject of getting out of the gravity well, did either of you guys read Seven Eves, the new Neal Stephenson book?
No.
There's this is not a plot element, but at some point he tells the story of long down the road, we'll say thousands of years in the future. There's somebody who gets to orbit, and they get to orbit completely under their own power. Basically, you got a wingsuit of varieties that you can, essentially paraglide and ride thermals up. And then going around planet Earth was a series of Bolo satellites. Bolo is, picture two, I don't know, basically coconuts tied together with some twine. You're swinging around, and as it flies, essentially the force is two vessels are trying to fly away from each other, but they're tethered. So as a result, you get this end over end thing. So the idea is these Bolo satellites are constantly orbiting Earth. And as they do, they roll forward so that one of the pieces dips down low enough into the atmosphere and stays there for, we'll say, 90 seconds, while the other half rolls forward on it. And then at that point, it rolls forward and the other half dips into the atmosphere, and the other one just suddenly is doing this 3G whip around, like you would imagine with a Bolo. So picture kind of a slinky walking around the Earth are these Bolos. And so in part of the book, you watch somebody leave from the surface of the Earth, use a nominal boost to get up in the air, ride the thermals up high enough that they're able to, they're looking at the computer. They said, okay, the Bolo is going to be by in so long amount of time. And then you see it coming, and then the one piece lands right in front. She swoops in on the wing set and then immediately braces herself, knowing that she's about to hit 6Gs or whatever as the thing swings around. But then during one of those times of swinging around, now you're kind of up in space and you use a different type of vessel to rendezvous with and get out there.
That is.
Sorry, go ahead.
That is pure insanity. That's ridiculous, and I hope we live in a time and age when we can see people try that.
I exactly right. I mean, that's just it. I
don't think it'll work, but I want them to try it.
Well, exactly. Well, and plus also, like, there's a set of rules in the book that give a reason why that might be a viable thing. There's a very hands-off Earth mentality, so everyone's getting in as close as they can without actually touching. I don't know, but I love thinking of these wild, out of the box alternative theories to bust out of the gravity well, and what I hear from this Paul Allen project reminds me of that insane thinking that I love so much in Seven Eves.
Absolutely. And so, somebody says, won't Newton's third law say that whatever forces the rocket pushes up will push the plane down? How's that conserving fuel? It's conserving the rocket's fuel. Remember, the purpose of a first stage and getting rid of your first stage is that first stage pushes the rest of the mass up, and then when you're done with that first stage, you jettison, you abandon it. In this case, your first stage is this airplane. And so the airplane is taking your rocket is still fully fueled, your rocket's intact, so you get to 30,000, 40,000 feet with this airplane, is how high altitude, let's say 50,000 feet if it's got a great ceiling to it. you've got 50,000 feet up, and then your rocket takes off. So if you took a Falcon 9 as it is on the launch pad right now, and then took it to 50,000 feet and let it launch, you've got a heck of a lot more payload you can put to orbit or further out beyond.
I mean,
so
if it was a big platform that was just always up there and you just flew all the pieces up, you assembled the rocket and you fired from there. I love this idea of essentially, what was the city from BioShock Infinite?
Columbia?
Yeah, was it? I think it was Columbia.
I believe so.
Yeah, so there's the dark sky platforms is a very interesting topic, which we've talked about a little before, and that's actually my third book in my Station Breaker series starts off on one of those, which is the idea at 100,000 feet up, building these using kilometer-long pylons filled with hydrogen gas supporting a thing in the middle of it. And that the idea that you'd have to have a balloon that basically you have to launch from a higher altitude because it would be so thin. But yeah, Stratostations, dark sky, those things are. I'm all for, yes, let's try that. 140,000 feet is what this guy talks about.
I mean,
so actually, he has a book
it
out.
seems like on all of planet Earth, there probably is up in the stratosphere the most reliably consistent environment on the entire planet in terms of, being essentially the same temperature, essentially the same weather conditions, essentially, you're above all of it. And it's like all you got to do is get enough balloons and enough real estate. You could build what? In fact, let's think crazy talk. Why couldn't you build a Manhattan-sized installation that just floated up there?
Yes, and remember at that altitude, your atmosphere is like 2 or 3%.
Sure, you'll have to have a bubble and pressurize to breathe.
So, and the answer is we should be. And I think I'm excited by the fact that Larry Page has put, is building his big, huge high altitude. We need just to start. There was some sort of interest in doing this and developing, let's say, like called stratosats, which are just high altitude balloons that sort of function like satellites over specific areas. So we think that I write about this stuff because I think that this seems to me like an area. Yeah, we should be doing this. Because it would be cool. Like, I love the idea of if you started building, because you look at this, you're like, man, that's a couple kilometers across, just float a little bit of material. But it's like, you start thinking the terms, when you have a practical reason to do this and you start thinking terms of scale, what that means,
dude, and I'll tell you what, man, picture, okay, let's say big enough for one container shipping container type thing, right? So that much space. You could run a little office out of there. You could have an outpost or whatever.
Is Brian typing away? I really wanted to get away from everything.
Yeah, right. But it's like once you have the proof of concept.
Daddy, how the hell?
Like once you have a proof of concept and you're able to say $3 million stays up forever. And it's like, how do you get there? Well, you take a quadcopter. This drone chip will take you up and drop you off, and you can come and go all you want, and it'll just be up there forever. Like the moment that real estate market opens, all of a sudden there's more room to build up there than exists on all of the land of the planet Earth. Like, think about what a land rush that could be if we just built all these floating platforms that are able to kind of maneuver like barges. You kind of get close to each other and you see each other. But at that point, you're running hydroponics to grow your own food and stuff. You get regular deliveries sent up to you and stuff. That's Amazon paradise, right? Is to just live up in the clouds.
You say that is that Amazon actually has patents or done some stuff on the idea of floating warehouse fulfillment centers. So the idea that instead of, you just have your warehouse fulfillment center just sort of drift to where you need it to be, and then you refill it from there. So Waffleophagus brings up in the chat room Project Loon. So Project Loon was the Google project to use high altitude balloons to try to transfer, internet. And what was curious about that was when they first started that, it was, the leading expert on balloons, I think was Ballard. Is that who it was? I may be confusing him. But anyhow, the guy that Richard Branson went to was very dismissive. There's a Wired article, and we talked about this on a prior podcast, where he says like, oh, well, they want to try to get this thing to stay up there for weeks. They're not going to do it. You just can't do it. The record at some time was like 30 days, and that was sort of an exception to it. And now, Google's been able to put these things up for months at a time. Now, I don't know how funded the project is right now, where the current status of it is, but it certainly showed that with some smart people, if you get enough people trying to solve these problems, and they came up with a lot of solutions for like, how do we prevent putting micro tears in the materials? How do we do this? How do we do that? And yeah, I think that once you find those applications for it, and there's certainly some military ones, but if we start finding other applications for it, I think, yeah, I'm excited, because I think I love that idea of the future of where, we're putting higher up stations in there and things that can slowly drift around the world, where you could just say, hey, let's go into this floating city and take that over to some other country and do the leisurely travel, or let's build facilities and stuff.
Beef Viper in the chat says in the near term, he sees people living in their self-driving vans.
Dude. Auto self-driving RV, fully on board. Fully on board.
Well, and think about it. Like, all of a sudden, homelessness will be the new chic, right? Like if you've got a comfortable place to stay, then essentially the idea of having an address, like you've got an email address, that's all you need, right?
Yeah, I think that you think about the concept of the RV park and that becoming a hip sort of thing. You think about the idea of like, oh, really what you just want is, one RV size spot in a really cool area, or a timeshare or something. Like I mean, there's an existing market economy for that right now, but we sort of don't. You look at it, you have to be a retiree or a redneck or something. I say that as a retiree redneck. I'm all we talked about in previous ones about once you start thinking about self-driving and autonomy, how that it's not just we get into a car and go to the same place like we do now. It's, hey, we can have a thing pull up in front of our house that's a tiki bar when we want to have a party. We can have deliveries and all sorts of other stuff. And then, the idea that, oh, we want to go do, Weird Attack Fest. Like, oh, well, we just got this plot of land in Texas, and we're just going to have, if you want to show up, just, order a Tesla RV and join us.
How far off do you think are we? I think we talked about this idea on Weird Things years ago, but I was thinking about, like, what would Uber for hotel rooms look like? Basically, you would online design your room. I want this lighting. I like these amenities. I like this set out, this, that, and the other. And then the closet is, imagine just a storage pod space, right? So it's like, let's say underground, you got a parking garage amount of just pods of closets. And when you need to crash in a room, you say, give me a room. You don't care which room it is. Just say, give me a room, set it up like I like it. And then, and all they have to do is, let's say, through some kind of hydraulic system, they move the closet up to fit into the closet of the room. So that's actually your actual stuff that you leave in there locked up and safe. But you walk in, each time you stay there, it's a different room, but it never feels like a different room because everything's laid out the same every single time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that, and that's, I spent like a week once with a notebook trying to come up with the idea of the infinite closet, which was thinking of all the crap and stuff that I had, and the idea of what if you just had this, like you sort of store things on the cloud. What if you just had this device you just sort of threw things into, and then longer term storage, it would like store somewhere else, or figure out how to pack.
An infinite closet where you can store all your secrets.
I love the secret. But yeah, I think, to your point, I think that there's something neat about, like, you look at like how people used to travel 100 years ago when only wealthy people traveled, and you look at like the luggage they had, like you pull up the thing with the shaving kit inside of the case and the drawers. Your luggage was actually furniture to some extent, and because you'd be going, sometimes your accommodations would just literally be a room or whatever. And I think that there is something neat about the idea of having whatever you need wherever you want it to be, but also, when you reduce the cost of stuff too, like, the Amazon Prime promise, it's like, oh yeah, you buy the sweater and we'll also have the sweater anywhere else you may need it.
Right. You essentially buy a license to a particular style that you like to wear or whatever. And it's like the clothes are always different. Like for example, like, why actually wash your actual clothes? Why not throw your clothes in a bin, and there's the same clothes of the same fashion choice that you like. And if something's slightly off, well, don't worry about it. The next time you get it, it won't be off.
Well, but think about if as we start moving more towards into precision 3D manufacturing and all these other stuff, like, yeah, it is like you buy that shirt subscription or that shirt license kind of thing. And people are like, oh, it sounds wasteful. Like, actually, the other side of this is it becomes very easy to reuse materials. It becomes very, very easy to reuse stuff, and you can increase efficiencies there. And or maybe it doesn't, but it becomes you can reduce the amount of impact that you have on transporting stuff. That's one of the biggest costs that goes into anything. One of the most economic costs, environmental costs, is what it takes to ship something from. The biggest cost of Chinese manufacturing is the fact you got to get from China to here. And when you were able to have these sort of, if your hotel says, oh yeah, no, we've got a full-on 3D manufacturing sort of thing, so you just send us whatever clothes you want, it'll be in your drawer.
So that makes me think of, like, in the closet, I've got an old Foot Locker that dates back to college and high school, and it's got a bunch of memorabilia. I actually don't even know what's in there because it's like a present that I'm wrapping for myself.
Bunch of weed.
I'm gonna go and read all those old love letters and look at my old stuff, and like that is something at some point I'll feel nostalgic enough to open, but also there's no need for me to physically have all this. If somebody was to say, hey, include it in your life subscription, whatever, we're going to just digitize all of this. And you'll be able to see every page will be digitized. You'll be able to experience it all in virtual reality, but you won't physically have the thing. But the smell will be recorded, and it'll be able to, remanufacture that smell. You'll have the complete nostalgic experience down the road when you want to see this again. And in the meantime, all of this will be turned into usable goods in the short term. I think I would go for that deal.
I've got 2 pods sitting in a warehouse in Miami right now, filled with a bunch of stuff. And if you're like, a lot of it's notebooks and stuff. And if you said, you know what, for $500, we will go scan every single notebook, everything else like this, and you just tell us what you want to keep and what you don't want to.
Yeah, you'd go for it. Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Justin. What was that?
I think the biggest thing is, would you rather be able to interact with it at all times in VR, or whenever you want to see it, you can get it sent back to you as remanufactured, right? So like nobody's really keeping anything, but all of a sudden Andrew can get his notebook as fully recreated, a facsimile of it, so you can have it and throw it away, right? Like, because it's not really the notebook. The idea is you can always get back as recreated. Now, searchability, I think, is a bigger thing, where especially if you're a diligent note taker, or you want to say, take the time to say, okay, well, this was about that, and now all of a sudden have this digital searchable index of physical things that you've had before. I think that's probably more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm in a box in terms of what virtual reality will be going forward, but to me, I think those are the 2 killer items. Is, can I search everything that I just wrote down throughout all of my life, right? Or it was written to me throughout all of my life? Can I have a museum quality record of me? And if I really want to share something with somebody, can I just hit a button and out of cold storage comes maybe better than it used to be, free from the aging process, maybe aged exactly how you remember it, smelling exactly how you remember it, in a box that is recreated to look like the kind of stuff that you kept it in.
Oh my God. And think of how trivial it would be to take little things like, hey, we noticed a bunch of scratch out. We've removed all those. Also, your handwriting back then wasn't that good.
Your girlfriend was ugly. We airbrushed her.
Right. Well, we've reformatted it with what we feel like is classic Brian handwriting, well executed. So it's just neater is all. Like, that would be amazing. That would
that's the thing is, since we've done all this, the podcast stuff, there's a lot of stuff that I've gotten at conventions from people that have like come up to me, or just like I've collected in my travels that like I can't throw away, and yet it becomes this very voluminous part of my closet that continues to grow.
Like little stuff. Like I'm not going to throw away. I have 7 years of Dragon Con badges now. It's like this is a special. I can't throw any of them away.
Well, it's like I was glad that we built a set because I could put like stuff like this. This is like a really cool little drawing of Brian and Captain Morgan. It's not finished, and it was told to me, hey, this isn't finished, but I don't know what else I'm going to do with it. So here, go ahead and take it. This came at Dragon Con, and it's like I have no idea what I'm ever going to do with this unless I start a museum for me, right?
And by the way,
my own museum.
You want to see your future? Take a look at my office. You've already seen like I am aware that it is an unusual and wonderful thing that I got to spend 15 years touring all over the United States doing my silly magic show, and there are times that I suffer from imposter syndrome, and I want very much to go into my place of work and see physical, tangible reminders of, no, man, you got this. You've done this. This is your life. You are this guy. Go out there and kick some ass. And so it's a shrine unto myself, which I would be embarrassed by if it wasn't so damned effective at getting me. We're sort of dipping into after things territory here. It was very much,
Or also you can, if Brian's really feeling down on himself, he can walk into his living room and see the gigantic theme park size God shrine of his face that was meant to steer people to his Halloween Horror Night show.
No, that really does belong over the office. I really put that up in the wrong place. It doesn't belong in the living room.
No.
Gentlemen, you know it does belong in the living room and in your ears and in your hearts, and that is the Weird Things podcast. And that's made possible by you. How? If you go to patreon.com/weirdthings, patreon.com/weirdthings, be a big help.
$125. $125. Less than the cost of getting a mole removed is what we need to enable the next part of our master plan.
Absolutely. We're going to edit together all of our Journey Quest segments that take place at the end of the show. I know I am excited to listen to the unbroken lunacy that is the Journey Quest segments put together, because I've lived them and I still can't imagine what they would all sound like together, one after another, after another, after another.
Frustrating is, I bet, the word that will come to your mind when that happens, but we won't know until...
No. I think it's going to be amazing. It reminds me of, back in a couple of years ago when I was more into music, and you'd have like two rappers going back and forth. Eventually, somebody would edit together like the diss track mixtape where it would just be them going back and forth, and in a slightly pre-digital age where it was harder for everything to be looked up immediately. It was
Welcome
amazing.
to where Andrew goes, I don't think I'm cool enough to be Justin's friend.
It was always amazing because like part of the waiting, the expectation was so much, and that's what it is for Journey Quest. It's super fun to kind of go a week and then you remember where you were and you keep going all together. I think it'll be absolute insanity. I'm super pumped for when we get to this level.
Yeah, man. If you guys enjoy the Weird Things podcast, if we make your day just a little bit better, I want you to do a thought experiment. Imagine that we walked into the room right now. Would you buy us a coffee? If so,
I don't drink coffee, Brian.
Okay. Would you buy us a water? It's artisan water.
I've got a water, Brian.
Okay. Would you buy us a beer? You know, damn. Okay, look. If we were there
chips
in person,
salsa.
if you, yeah, that's right, chips and salsa. If we were there in person,
they're free at a lot of restaurants.
Please give us money. Patreon.com/weirdthings.
Block.
Hey, before we fire up the new segment here, has anybody peeked at the WWDC thing?
What's the latest?
I've been watching.
Guesses on. Don't look. Guesses on the name of their Google Home, Amazon Echo,
Apple Place.
Place?
Apple Place knows where you belong. In your place, your Apple Place.
It's actually hilarious because you just kind of gave like the Soviet Union version of what was called. Like in Soviet Russia, you have Place Pod.
Yes.
Here in America, you have Home Pod.
Exactly.
It's literally the HomePod.
That's what it is. HomePod.
HomePod.
What?
They are like positioning it as a music speaker first, but it has Hey Siri support. It is $350, available in December in US, UK, Australia.
Based upon the hit success that Apple Hi-Fi was, all right. So
This is gonna be huge.
I'm a bit of an Apple fanboy. Let me make that very, very clear. But I also have this. I love a lot of things they do. I love their commitment to privacy. I love the fact they stood up the FBI and the government about how their encryption works and would not develop workarounds and all this. And I respect that. It's one of the reasons I use Apple products is because I'm not the product. I'm the consumer. And they're very, very good. They take privacy more seriously than anybody else. Absolutely committed to that. I believe that that is their core value because their profit motive is in selling us expensive stuff. I love my iPhone. I use my iPhone every day. I like my Apple TV. I use iMac in front of me. I got my iPad. I love so much of the stuff. Siri to me is a constantly frustrating thing. I love my Alexa. And I'll tell you one of the simplest things about Siri, and it reminds me, if I thought of my analogy to this, is if I want to use my Alexa, I just say, Alexa, what time is it, right? If you want to use Siri, what do you have to do?
You have to hold down a button and wait for her to interrupt you mid-sentence to say she doesn't understand what you're talking about.
You can turn on Hey Siri and have her just sitting there and go, but you got to go, Hey Siri, and then wait for bleepity bleep. Hey, could you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And that reminds me of how Steve Jobs used to make fun of Microsoft with you have to press start to close down the computer. It is several steps. It is below the fold. It is several steps. Hey Siri, blinkety blink. Could you do? And now she's turning on, Alexa, she's a bit aggressive sometimes, but I can mute her very easy. That is one of the reasons I just don't use Siri. Is I have my phone next to my Alexa, and I'll go, Hey Siri, blinkety. You just want to go, Hey Siri, what time is it?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I am astonished to realize that the biggest thing keeping us from having the Majel Barrett Starship Enterprise always omnipresent, you just call out to it and it grants you wishes, has been a cultural barrier, has been the idea that we have been previously uncomfortable with the idea of always on microphones. And now I'm at the point where I'm annoyed that my Sonos, I'm annoyed that my Sonos requires me to open up my phone or whatever. I just want to be able to bark at it.
Sonos has gotten white people rich before it starts.
I have Hey Siri enabled on my phone. So if I go, Hey Siri, what time is it?
We get
okay. So real, just because I'm agreeing with you, Brian. I wasn't trying to make fun of you. I agree. Since I've had the Echo, it's become increasingly frustrating to make sure that I'm on the right Wi-Fi network, that I have Wi-Fi enabled, that I can, I'm then entering it in and I got to group things. I can't just tell it, turn on this speaker, turn off that speaker. I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'm in love with the name, but whatever. If what Apple is going to give us is a better Sonos that plugs into the Apple Music ecosystem, which I'm already a part of, I have more interest in that in dual capacity with my Echo than I have with both an Echo and a Google Home, for example.
Yeah, my frustration is more of an interface one. Like Siri's got amazing, the AI behind it is really good because there's things you run into, you realize Amazon Alexa is very good at a couple things, and also they get a Dot for $50, and the Dot's wonderful. $50, you have the same running. I think it's amazing, but it doesn't have the same AI behind it, which I thought was very, very cool about Siri. My thing is the front end of Siri, where I have to do that non-intuitive. Yeah. I would never talk to a human that way or wait for that, and I wish Apple would go maybe we could address that, and I think it'd be better. I would not want to put a Google Home in my house. I would never put one in my house because I make that trade-off with Alexa, but they're a marketing company, and when they had the first couple months the Google Home was out there, they ran, it wasn't an ad, it was just this,
just letting you know that magic combines with suspense when Beauty and the Beast comes to theaters this Friday. You can get tickets by saying, "Get me tickets." This isn't an ad. Tale as old as time. This is just a song we're playing. It's not an ad.
Yeah, and they denied that it was an ad. The one that happened too, they denied that it was an ad. And it's okay, it just disappeared out of nowhere. Like there isn't an entire team at Google trying to figure out how to push ads and do through this. Like,
come on, buddy. You knew that when you put that in there, you were getting paid by Disney.
Yeah. It's fine for some people. That's fine. That's but I'm like the whole the home pod, by the way, which sounds like a personal grow room that you would have, you know.
Oh, dude, look, I mean, fool me 5 times, shame on, I'm out of the game. Like, how many times have they introduced the name of a thing that we thought was dumb, and 20 minutes later, it was the defining word for that thing?
I've never been too problematic with the names.
iPad was probably the biggest one.
Right. Yeah.
That
Even iPod was a weird name at the first.
Never catch on.
That was also a different thing because like they launched that with such low expectations.
Right.
You know, that
and look at it now, guys. Who buys an iPod now? You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that's true. iPod sales are down.
Failure. So I would say the thing that has me most excited, because you look at like, okay, and I think that Apple getting into the Home Assistant thing is going to be great because Apple's going to do, it's Google, big fanboy for Apple for iOS, but Google doing Android, wonderful, great. It makes the competition increases, is because they have to differentiate themselves and come up with their own features. And there's, my iPhone is better because Apple and Google have been in this competition to make better products rather than one person sitting there and doing that. It's like, we're big SpaceX fans, but we're excited about Blue Origin. We're excited that Paul Allen is doing his thing. We want more. We're not like, we only want one team. We want a game in which everything gets better. We watched, right before we did our show, we watched the demo of the ARKit, so ARKit is, so Apple has these different sort of software development kits, these interfaces you can use to add features and functionality to your applications for Apple. And so what ARKit is, a software system for developing applications that does augmented reality. And what's really, really cool about ARKit, and what's kind of thing that I think that kind of can get very easily lost when you look at this presentation, is we've all seen the augmented reality stuff where you aim it at like, a little sheet or the little cereal box icon, or aim something at an icon. And then you look at that and you're like, oh, cool, I'm making the little creature appear or whatever. ARKit doesn't require you to have one of those objects, one of those materials in front of you in order to range and figure out what it does. You aim it at a table, and it uses all sorts of other intelligent data to figure out what the size of your room is, what the shape of the objects it's looking at, and all that. And then it can superimpose objects onto that space. So we watched demos of some really cool game stuff, and it's like AR where you aim it at that little, the little whatever that pre-configured symbol is, but you don't need that. You don't need that at all. One of the challenges of trying to do with, let's say, work with a Vive, an HTC Vive, is you've got to have the Lighthouse room sensors so it knows where you are. Apple's able to use its onboard cameras, its accelerometer, and everything else, not unlike, the project Google's been working on with their own room sensing stuff, and building their own technology for doing this. Apple has now figured out how to do that with a stock iPhone and a stock iPad, so that you can just aim this thing, it knows exactly where it is and its position in space, and you can move around objects and get different points of view. So I'm super excited about that, because we know that Apple behind the scenes is also working on their own AR hardware, and this is the first step, is building these applications for it. And we saw a demo not unlike, when we watched the Microsoft HoloLens demo, where, you saw like they looked at the table, you moved around the table, and you saw it. That was cool. But HoloLens was a year away from shipping, and the development stuff was even further out. But now you have stuff that's a software system that's shipping now that you can play with.
I think it looks fantastic. It'll be curious to see where people go with it, because I think the biggest limitation on AR with both the iPad and the iPhone is just battery consumption. Even people I knew that were super, super into the limited AR that was Pokemon Go almost immediately turned off the AR stuff just because it drained your batteries so far. So I think it's great that they're building these tools, and it's great that the processing power in these machines can handle it. I'm curious to see where things go.
Yeah, well, the one of the, Apple fanboy here, one of the advantages of some of the stuff when Apple put stuff in there is they've always been very, very tried to be attentive to power consumption. And they're building, in the next generation, we're going to get in the next generation chips, either this next iPhone and the one after that, we're probably going to get more built-in onboard voice recognition, and we're probably going to get a visual CPU unit that's for AR, specifically dedicated towards that, which will mean lower power consumption.
At this WWDC, did they make any announcements about the when and if of next iPhone? Because there's a bit of a rift in the rumor community, whether they think it's going to be, are they going to move the fingerprint scanner to the back, and is it going to be edge to edge wrap around with a cutout for the thing at the top, or is it going to be still have a bezel the way the other ones did?
So they didn't announce new hardware for iPhones because WWDC is usually like software update time because it's a developer conference. So yeah, it was more about what iOS 11 will look like, but nothing indicative of what new hardware would look like.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with when they start plugging in the different. People start looking around the new dev kits to see what's in there sometimes. And so it would surprise me if they did the fingerprint sensor on the back. It would really, really, really surprise me if they did that. But not to say that they wouldn't do something that would surprise
you.
Not
have it be on like the front, so you would be touching the screen, but the fingerprint sensor would be behind the screen.
Yeah, the supposedly leaked reports that were on Reddit were that they've been trying to test a fingerprint sensor that works through the screen, but it didn't have the same success rate. And so, and I mean, it's going to come down to Apple sells more units when it's a radically redesigned phone. When the phone looks very different, that's when it moves. And now going full front screen design is the 10. You have Andy Rubin, who is originally the guy with Android that got bought by Google and developed Android for them. He's got his new phone out, the Essential phone, which is an Android compliant phone that's got almost like the full on screen, like there. So, you're seeing other people do it, and so because people, it's one of these things in tech. It's not so much somebody copies somebody else; it's just sort of go, well, we think it's going to be thinner and the screens are going to be bigger.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, they're all watching the same component markets and what can be done and what can be done at scale and what can be done profitably, and what people like, it'll be curious.
So we're looking at photos that appear to be renderings of the new iPhone with a fingerprint sensor on the back, and Rene Goose says in the chat room, people using Androids with fingerprint on the back say it's more convenient as your finger's already there. That's a point. Of course, hey, we got to buy new cases, and we know how Apple hates to make us have to buy new, accessories.
Well, I mean, they've already made it clear that their courage knows no limits, and I'm looking forward to the courage of Bose to release a freaking lightning port.
Wait a minute! I just realized a fingerprint sensor. I'm immediately against the fingerprint sensor on the back because I just realized the era of my wallet case will die.
Will be over. Yeah.
It'll be over. I'm against it. I ain't for it. I'm against it.
Well, here's what I bet they'll do. If they make that kind of move, they'll also have a facial recognition thing where it's like you just wave it in front of your face. And
you could come up with a wallet case so you could flip it open and slide it in, or I'm sure they'll come up with it. They'll give us a solution. Then they'll convince themselves that it's a worthwhile solution.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't want the book. I don't want my little black book phone. That's always looks so weird.
So Bryce just put up a photo of like a rendering. I mean, this is amazing. These renderings of what it looks like, of like what the new case would look like, where it's a flip open case where your credit card goes in the side. We don't know what to believe anymore. You see something, you look super realistic, I'm I'm excited about ARKit. I'm like, it's not because it's now that Google's into the play, Apple's into this play. It's very, very cool. The new Macs, by the way, support Steam VR. So, saying, but AR, I think it's going to be like watching them, they show the demo, and granted it's a demo, but we've had this conversation before about, I'm a big believer that I think the future isn't so much as putting goggles and stuff on our heads, is that before we get to the Neuralace, it's going to be turning every screen in your house into a projection screen. And when you're using eye tracking, you can give that augmented reality sort of view by tracking where you're moving and where you're looking, and create that, sensation of things looking like they have 3D in depth to it. And excited.
Yeah. Well, the AR thing is curious for me because I have yet to see the killer app that makes me want to think I want to experience via AR through holding up a window to an alternate reality all around us. Like I get the idea of you're just wearing you're wearing glasses anyway, so now all of the world has a video game interface. Like I get that. But the idea like reach into your pocket, pull out your phone, look through a window to see a thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's intermediate and dumb. I agree. I totally agree that that's not as cool as having glasses. I agree. Pulling out the phone and doing it, and that's why it's had limited novelty. But they did show in their demo, they showed some really, really cool stuff they were doing with that same tech. They showed them pulling out, like, you've seen, like, we've got pretty cool document scanners right now where you can aim it and you say these are the corners or whatever. They showed their new version of a document scanner where they aimed it at like a contract at an angle and it immediately popped it open and popped it up and created this thing that you could sign, you could do with checks and all that. So it's taking that, what we already have is it's cool tech for like, recognizing, importing text into video or text into, digitizing, print things, actual physical objects. Using that for the next level tech is kind of cool. But yeah, I know, I agree. I like holding up your phone and doing this. It's like, oh yeah, this is really cool.
Well, and keep in mind, like I know, I'm very aware that the limitation is my imagination, not the limitation of the hardware. What I'm looking forward to is somebody putting together a killer app idea where I'm just like, oh my, that's going to make everything better.
Yeah.
Oh wait, was that a real thing? Balloon Knots is saying that IKEA's AR app is visualizing furniture before you buy it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the House. There's a number of apps that do that now, where they let you drop things put into place, and that's it. It is a, it's like trying to get people excited about the HTTP protocol, in 1981. It sounds great. This is really, really exciting. And what it comes down to is that we don't. Yeah, it's hard to appreciate the difference between Flickr and Instagram if you're in 2005, but IKEA.
What the hell is happening in that?
I don't know. that promotion.
IKEA promotional.
Swedish. They're just so weird. There's just people tickling each other, and like now there's more people, and there's children involved, and
wacky.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think that I'll give you an example of what I think is going to be really, really cool. We're talking about augmented reality, not the thing in front, but putting on the glasses, but being in a room and being able to see stuff. Is think of how big tabletop games are.
Yep.
Okay. Think about what that means when you can have your own AR tabletop game dev kit, and you can say, hey, we're going to make this and we're going to play our D&D, whatever kind of session. It's like Hollow Chess or whatever like this, and you design your own or whatever. It's going to become a really cool marketplace because you could use standard game engines.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, even I cannot think of a single board game that does not get enhanced by having a computer handle the bull crap for you. Like even Monopoly. Like, if you could just glance and know how much money everyone has and all the banking transactions happen immediately. Like, yeah, everybody put on these goggles and we're just going to play Monopoly together, and we're going to do, because the first time I saw that was, I love Settlers of Catan, but I will state unequivocally that the Xbox version of Catan is superior to the actual board game, because you have a limit of 90 seconds to take your turn. It handles all the mathy transactions. If you're not capable of making a trade, it doesn't allow you the opportunity to offer it, which of course in real life, you might, miscalculations happen and so on. It's great. And if I could just get that, we're still all staring at the table together and we're still all talking, but the computer was keeping everything moving along, that would be ideal.
Well, and even, Brian and I, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's one of our picks at the end of this.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But we were playing, Star Trek Bridge Commander, and I had an absolute blast. I loved it. But, I don't know exactly how much more I got that I couldn't get if just the gigantic screen was in front of, like, just in my room, and my console was right in front of me and I could still hear everybody.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting down at a tabletop with some friends and the goggles on, and you're watching the battle appear over the table.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's like, and I'm saying the augmented reality case instead of the virtual reality case. The augmented reality case is like much like we get together, like we sit around in a room and we play these games. The kind of games and stuff we're going to play with when we're hanging out together, and it could be like, oh, let's play this cool, sword and sorcery type tabletop game. It's like, okay, do you guys want to roll for your fight, or do you want to get up and do you actually want to use virtual weapons and fight?
Yeah, no, I guess that's my point is that that could be a better AR game than it is a VR game. And the fact that the tech is there, I think, is amazing.
So I think that in the game side, I certainly see we're gonna have a different kind of game. You're gonna have a thing where you could make tabletop game kits that you guys would be able to sit in and code and develop, and put out a tabletop AR game with, say, oh, this is because it's like. We're at a great place with tabletop games now where the production costs have dropped considerably. You still have to pay for these costs to do that, but small teams of developers can make really cool card games and tabletop games. That's going to be a big, huge thing with AR, in my opinion. Big thing with AR is going to be small dev teams could come up with amazing, cool stuff using existing plug-in stuff because you're saying, well, it's about the creature design and the gameplay. It's not about the mechanics and the software that's figured out for us.
Well, and that's the thing is that'll make it so compelling, like from a supply side of things, is that free distribution, or essentially free distribution, of fairly significant detail. If you can have a thought of what a good game would be, and you can put the effort to make up all the rules and tell the computer how to deal with every situation, and then press a button and it's instantly available to the entire planet, on that platform for free, we're going to get a lot of really inventive games.
Yeah. I think that it's putting a lot of power back into the designer's hands and, the innovator's hands. So I think that'll be very cool. From a business or pro side, it's, like I think about, you think about there's 1,000, there's probably a dozen times a day where I do something that you figure out, would it be better or just this, whatever. Like I have to, like I get, galleys of my books that I need to go proof or whatever like that. And how cool would it be if I just say, just pick up any book and it's going to superimpose, the pages and all this onto it. So, I mean, that's the thing too, augmented reality, you can make any book, any other book. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Is that
and it seems like that's such an easy way, like questioning those fundamental precepts. For example, like we all wish that Princess Leia could float in front of us or whatever. But it's like, do we really wish that? Do we really wish that the light was there in this coherent thing, or do we wish we had the experience? It's sort of like the Total Recall thing. The we can remember it for you wholesale. Yeah. Where it's like, do you really want the vacation or you just want the memory? And I think we just want the memory.
Well, if we can get there to the easiest path, and the idea of the reason we love the hologram, the notion of that is you're not putting anything on your head. And the thing I keep trying to sort of explain is that if you have full-scale room projection mapping, if you have video projectors projecting onto every surface of your room, which is it is Moore's law shows us that the processing power and the video projection costs are dropping to the point that it will, 10 years from now, whatever, it will be very cheap to cover every surface you can with multiple projectors, whatever. And you have a system that can spot your eyes and track your eyes. You can simulate 3D.
Right.
And so we can create that effect. Like, I mean, obviously, certain amount of depth, the kind of depth that you would experience with just moving your head, not from, binocular vision, but we can simulate that. And so you could look at it's like, you ever see those examples of like, you look at an object and it looks like the Rubik's Cube sitting on the table and the camera goes to the side.
Sure. And
you realize it's 2 feet long.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what projection mapping will do. It'll work really great, from one person's point of view. But if you and I are having a conversation, we're facing each other, it just projection maps behind me, for you, and behind you for me. And you can create you would call them holograms, because for the observer, they are holographic. And by there's a lot of cool tricks now, foveation, eye tracking and stuff, that we can have that. We can have that future.
Yeah. Hey, are we running long? Do we have to skip Journey Quest this week?
I'm going to do a mini Journey Quest.
Uh-oh. All right, here we go.
All right.
Hold on, wait. We have to do our previously on.
Yeah.
Get ready. Here it comes.
Previously on
Journey Quest! Yeah, it looks like we are being followed by a gigantic man-robot creature in the dust storm.
Everyone get on the floor. It's time to party.
Do you take requests?
press the button. You know, he's a chimp. Does he know what you want?
You know what? Can I see?
He wants a quorum. Do both of you want you to press the button?
Wait, no.
So where the heck were we?
we were chased down into the dusty Badlands by DJ Robot Extraordinaire Bryce Com.
We were also in the Black Canyon, which is certainly legally different enough from the Dark Tower to avoid comparison.
That's right. And then, but there was a button that we had to press, right?
Yeah, you guys got on the train that was being run by a monkey.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's right. And we got to that part.
And I think you guys got him to push the button, and I think that's where we left off.
Yeah, so you're being chased. Bryce was in his big Mecha Bryce was coming at you. His big mechanical claws were coming at the back of the train, swiping at it. And then
by the way, Justin, do you think he's mad at us? Do you think he wants revenge, or maybe he wants to recruit us for another gig? Because we were pretty great.
No, he tried to kill us, Brian. He tried to kill us when we blew up.
I've got an 8-year-old, and she lashes out when what she really wants is attention. Maybe that's what this is.
He escaped certain death at the hands of Bryce. So I'm pretty positive that our abandonment of him has scarred him to the point where he will not allow us to live.
I mean, that's just because we haven't apologized formally. Just seems like we can make things right. We have
literally gone since we last saw Bryce through so many different authority figures that you have immediately wanted to kill. That has always been your MO. For whatever reason, now you don't want to kill the person who's literally shooting at us.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, he's just a little misguided. He's a little confused. I feel like we can fix this. This is not unfixable.
Can we?
I don't know.
So there you are on the little tiny train, which you thought was a much bigger train. And then as you realized,
it was
the frustrating thing about, depth perception in tiny trains is that it was a tiny little train. And you're asking him to press the button, and let's see what happens here. He presses. He's going for the button. And let me see if I can find this.
I would like to think you're rolling digital dice on your iPhone. You're just like, listen.
The music starts playing.
Ah, son of a biscuit, Justin!
He turns around. The monkey's smiling at you, and he's waiting for you to tell him, "Good monkey."
You know what? I'm not going to rob him of that. I say, good monkey. And I pat him on the head.
What's your reaction, Justin?
At this point, I for a brief moment,
got grazed in the back of the neck by Bryce's metallic metal fist.
For a brief moment before I gather myself, I hope that this is the song that the sweet embrace of death is letting me fall into its darkening embrace, because there is literally no hell that can compare to what I'm going through right now between trying to shepherd Brian through all of these different trials while consistently getting punched in the nuts. I then gather myself and realize that I can't give up hope and I need to continue moving forward. But for a moment, I'm in a very dark place.
Okay.
As the Calliope music
recognizing the dark cloud across his face, I stand up in the train and I turn back to Bryce and I hold out my arms outstretched wide and I make the universal sign for timeout. Timeout. Timeout, and I pad my hands up and down like, whoa, let's take it easy, bud. Like, and then I do the divers, 2 fingers at my eyes, too, like, hey, look at me, back and forth, look at me, and then I pad my hands like, come on, calm down, and then I do timeout, calm down, look at me, you and me, come on,
and
can we
now
talk?
You notice a green laser tracking dot on your forehead.
I put my arms on my sides and I look at him askew and I do a little, oh no,
chest
you don't.
Opens up
tick-tock,
and you see
tick-tock.
a missile rack push forward.
I say, Bryce.
And you hear, doot,
I say,
And you see just the maniacal glee of Bryce's face as he reaches down and he presses a button.
I say, Bryce, hands are not for hurting. Let's have a conversation.
Smoke starts emitting. Fire, ignition, missile shooting straight at you.
Okay, I hide behind Justin.
We dive off the. I grab Brian as we dive off the train.
Okay, well, you dive off the train. The missile misses the train, flies off into the horizon. Monkey looks back, sees you guys got off the train, puts the train into reverse as Bryce overshoots you guys, looks at you.
We get back on the train.
Get back on the train. Monkey flips open another switch, presses this button. Next thing you know, rockets pop out of the side of the train. The thing starts to accelerate super fast. You're passing by Bryce. Now's your chance. You can flip him off. You can wave. You can do whatever you want.
I give him a jaunty call me gesture as I mime having a
trips in his own crater, but then he aims a wrist at you, and next thing you know, a metallic fist comes shooting right towards you. If you don't duck, you're gonna die.
Okay, well, I duck, but while I duck, I punch up my hand so we fist bump as well as escaping death.
Please tell me it rips his hand off. It rips his hand off. Please tell me he has no hand.
Yeah, it breaks his wrist, snaps his hand off. Brian has no hand.
Damn it. Okay, I don't need that hand. Yeah, that's on me.
Is there flesh and bone inside, or is it more metal?
I'm holding it. I'm holding it to hold the blood in, and I stand up and I say, I forgive you.
And next thing you know, you're heading towards a mountain, straight towards the mountain. The tracks end at the mountain.
Justin, do you see anything around I could use as a tourniquet? You don't happen to have earbuds from your
the
iPhone,
monkey. You
do you?
suspect the monkey may actually be a robot.
Hey, monkey, enable cure me protocol. Wait, monkey, give me your hand. Give me your hand. What? Detach your hand and attach it to my body.
Monkey looks at Justin, shrugs. Monkey goes back to driving the train straight.
I swear to God, monkey, you better give me your robot monkey hand.
Monkey
I need a
speeds up
hand.
the train.
Monkey, navigation. How do we steer this thing? Where are we going? What's our destination?
Monkey just looks at you, just points straight ahead, like you're an idiot.
I say, monkey, this is the last time I'm gonna ask. Give me your monkey hand right now.
Monkey ignores you.
All right, we're screaming toward the mountain, right?
Screaming towards the mountain.
Are we gonna die, monkey?
Monkey shrugs.
You know what? I figure the monkey either has a plan. Maybe it's a holographic mountain that we're gonna go through. Maybe I don't know. Monkey doesn't seem. Monkey, are you afraid to die?
Monkey just scratched his butt, smelled his finger, and almost fell off the train.
I said, "Don't use my hand that way." Also, give me that hand.
Monkey's eating a banana with his finger, with his feet.
Okay, you know what? I go up and I rub my stump on his banana to ruin it. I'm like, hey.
Monkey bares his teeth.
Yeah, he's like, what are you gonna do? Bite off my fingers? Too late, Jake.
Monkey is looking at your other hand, ready to bite off.
Okay, that's a good point, Monkey. I back away slowly.
Monkeys also reminds you that monkeys will bite any exposed thing, including genitals.
Justin, I probably shouldn't have lost my hand fist bumping that giant fist that they shot.
That was really dumb. Really dumb.
I thought it was going to be like a morale building moment. That's on me. Look, I think you need to drive for a bit. I don't think I'm very good at living.
Well, Brian, since you've asked, we don't really have anywhere to drive because we are heading at a very fast rate of speed into this mountain. Really, our only decision is, do we jump off the train again, or although this time we'll almost certainly be injured, if not dead, because it's going so fast.
I gotta tell you, no, I think
accept our fate, and either this monkey's got a plan and it's headed to a secret area, or we're dead.
I can't imagine that this monkey is a suicidal monkey. He doesn't. He
pulls out
suicidal.
a slip of notepad and he writes something on the pad.
I look at the pad. What does it say?
Hold on, I'm going to write it down for you. Here. He writes.
It's the effective realism that we love about this podcast. It says, wait for it.
It is just a white screen.
He writes.
It says, it says nothing. He's like a monkey. It says, am smart, S-M-A-R-T, monkey, M-U-K-Y.
Okay, smart monkey, can we trust you?
He said yes. He's nodding yes.
All right, look, I'm going to say this monkey's got a plan. I lean back, I take off my belt, I wrap it around my stump, I tie it off on a tourniquet, and I start to try to experience what I'm told amputees experience as a phantom hand. And I wave my hand over it to just kind of feel like, oh, that's novel. I used to have a hand.
So you're heading straight towards the mountain, and then the monkey opens up another button.
And I look over with an eyebrow arched at Justin, and I said, see, bro? Please, press it, press it.
He's pressing it. He's like, realizes he's got to jiggle the switches a bit.
Oh, no! More music! Yeah, you know what, Justin? Maybe this music is like a code. It's like a password code that's going to open up. By the way, how close to the mountain are we at this point?
You're getting pretty close.
Okay,
you're,
look,
you're like
maybe this Calliope music is a secret coded reference to the name of my youngest daughter, and that maybe he's saying I'm a friend. I'm here because I remember your family who died.
You're heading straight towards the mountain. Next thing you know, it's too late to jump off. The train's too late to slow down. And next time on Journey Quest.
Ah! God,
I wanted
how did
to
I
have
lose
it,
a hand?
Noted for the record that for the second time in 10 minutes, the Calliope music brings a death wish from Justin. Justin wishes that he would just die because there is no hell that is worse than what is experiencing happening right now.
You think there's nothing worse than this?
Well, yeah, right now, I mean, listen, we'll see how he feels next week.
Look, I already know what's worse than this is me not having the other hand, too. Like, how did I lose a hand in the shortest episode of Journey Quest ever?
Well, I don't know. Maybe next time you'll be trying to hand jive with Mecha Hitler and you'll lose the other one.
Gentlemen, let's do some picks.
Yeah, dude. I don't think there's any dispute, no discussion, no words to describe how much I love Star Trek Bridge Crew. It is great. If you have a VR, there are fewer than 1 million people who have bought VR anythings or who can even play this game. But it is totally and completely cross-platform. Like, you could do it on the Oculus.
I heard they sold like 1 million PlayStation VR units.
Oh, is that true? Somebody,
like,
I'm repeating hearsay that I read on Reddit, so that's probably wrong. But still, certainly around 1 million, not the 5 or 10 million.
Yeah, it didn't catch on quite the way I think that a lot of people thought that it would right now.
Right, but I'll say this much. What a challenging... I remember back in the late 90s, Starfleet Academy was a video game coming out, and the video game design team was talking about how they wanted to replicate the experience that's in the actual television and movies, which they called the Yellum interface, as in you just yell commands all the way around. The ability to craft a game where there's inherent informational inefficiencies so that the captain provides an actual service by talking through what, here's the situation we're at, people. Because when you play engineering on this game, you only see the engineering stuff. You have no idea how many enemies are out there. You have no way to tell how close they are. You rely on the captain to paint a picture for you that lets you know contextually whether or not you should be focused on, weapons, shields, or engineering. And of course, your job is to repair a bunch of things. It's way fun and it's way, way good. And I am really surprised and impressed by it.
Here are just some quick texts. PlayStation VR has sold 1 million units. The HTC Vive has sold 420,000, and Oculus has sold 243,000.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, close enough for a Fermi problem.
Wait, how many did the Vive sell?
Like
430.
Yeah.
Oh, 430. Okay.
Or
listen, It's great. It's easily the best PSVR game that I've played. Most of the best PSVR stuff are demos. Effectively, they're tiny.
Did you buy it on PSVR?
No, I mean I'm just saying from my experience of what I played in PSVR games. It is immersive. It's cooperative in a way that really, really benefits the medium, and it. For the first time in a while with a VR game, the feeling wasn't, oh, this is cool or, oh, this is clever. It was, oh, this is wish fulfillment, you know? And that's what I think is super fun about it was, you know, Brian and I, and we were streaming it, so we were kind of hamming it up for everybody. But, like, it's amazing how fast you fall into the cadence and the vocabulary of Star Trek when you are literally sitting on the bridge and interacting with everything.
And in that moment, I got the vibe that you weren't mocking me when you called me captain. It's like in that moment, like when you play helmsman, you know, it's like, you know, it's fun to be the person who steers and to try to do a good job and to know that you're delegating responsibilities to the captain and the captain's going to tell you what to do and you're going to assume the captain's got a reason to tell you what to do. And I don't know, like I very much enjoy you know, the chain of command setup where it's like I enjoyed being a subservient station person, you know?
Yeah, no, it was super fun. And we played with two randos, which was great. And, you know, that's the reason why I was calling you captain, because like if I called you Brian, then people might not know who I was talking to because they don't know each other. So you kind of
way to deny Brian's captainage. That's the only reason I called you captain.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, the game is immersive enough and demands communication to the point where you definitely fall into it. It is just an absolute blast, and I had a great time playing it, and it made me want to play it more going forward. Just a great application of the deck, and it really, I think, reinforces the idea that as much as I want two things. I want very immersive stuff that takes advantage of all the viviness of it all, that's solo. And then I want things like this that I get it. I'm going to be overpowered for a bunch of people that are sitting down at their PSVRs or their Oculuses that don't have the range of motion. But just give me co-op. Just co-op, so fun. Having a full, robust, you know, people are always playing it situation is just such a boon to games like this.
Yeah, dude. Like knowing that you're never going to be short of being connected to other players. Like I love this idea of cross-platform pollination where it's like finally the difference between consoles and PCs have gotten small enough that, you know, that there really is no excuse to have a debate about them anymore and let's just all play games together.
I think one way to look at this is that, you know, in 2006, if you were looking at what gaming was, you had consoles, you had PCs, and then you had some sort of desktop kind. Remember Newgrounds and all the Flash games and stuff?
Oh yeah.
There was sort of that, but then once we got really cool mobile between iPhone and Android, is that you had mobile gaming was its own little thing, and that was a different kind of game. Then you know, a different kind of attention span, a different thing, and there was space for that, and that's become a huge part of gaming. Mobile gaming now is just in the size of it's incredibly huge, and it seems like that's what we're going to see with the VR stuff and the AR stuff. Is we want to put it. You know, my frustration with the Oculus initially was like, is that it's like, well, you know, it was just sort of they didn't have the positional thing. It was just initially was just the head on a stick sort of thing. It's why I got one played in the game dev. I'm like, this really isn't kind of cool. This is just it's a peripheral for existing games. But now we're getting into this really cool next gen stuff, which I'm excited.
And also, this idea is I don't know how many times I've said it. It's the VR game that I want, and that is Bridge Crew, but you are two pirate ships pulling up to each other and you're manning cannons and swinging. What I want. I want that co-op game so bad.
So in the chat room, somebody asked, I wonder if the Navy has this yet for running subs and other ships. One of the premier development institutions for VR stuff is the MXR lab at USC. And USC MXR lab, I did a demo there 3 years ago, where one of the things they do is you can sit down at a console station. It was funded by the Navy, and it has just like a piece of plexi, like Lexan to your left, Lexan to your right. You put on the goggles, and the next thing you know, you're controlling a Navy. You're observing stuff on a naval vessel. And so it was like you could go to the top and look from the mast. You could look like a control room. So they're heavily invested in finding, looking into this stuff, but, need to make sure that it works before you put that in the battlefield. So kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you what. I think you'll really get a kick out of it. I'm surprised that there's not been a non-VR component, because, like you were saying, Justin, like you could get an awful lot more players just playing from behind. All you need, the important part is less the VR part, but instead it's the the voice chat and the ability to talk to everyone else, right?
I think on some kind of games, maybe. I do love the idea that we are all in VR for Bridge Crew, just because if you open up that net too wide, I think you can have, there is a vibe there, like the vibe of me and you being friends and then joining up with two randoms to run a starship where we're all looking around and seeing each other, and we can see each other's hand movements and stuff like that, and we can make jokes about like pointing at each other and everything. Like, that's so important. And I know that you're always going to get a different experience if it's on desktop.
Yeah.
In the not too distant future, I can see like 50 or 60 people going to a field with AR or VR goggles, in Austin, another 50 or 60 people in Oakland linking up and going to war with each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I imagine the Braveheart experience where it's like you're going to line up, you're going to look at all your fellow warriors to your left and to your right, and you're going to know that you're going to go into battle and hopefully live to, win the day, and physically run alongside them to attack and hack and slash. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Kind of cool. My pick, and I picked this before and I finally finished the book. I really, really, really enjoyed this, and it's Tim Wu, W.U., The Attention Merchants. The Attention Merchants is about the attention economy, and it starts with the penny newspapers back in the 1800s and works its way through to Google and Facebook. And it is an extremely well-researched and insightful book. He starts off with an anecdote about a school system that partnered with an advertising company because the advertising company said, you have an asset here that's, struggling school system. You have an asset here you haven't appreciated, and that's the value of your students. And we would love to be able to create these, help fund things at the school. And it was like starting this marketing things directly to kids and stuff, which I thought it's outrageous. And I kind of was a little bit put off, though, because of the start of the book. It's kind of like they're putting it on, the advertising company. It's like, that's their job. The people hired to educate and protect these kids, they're the villains. They're the villains there. And you could say, well, they had budget problems and all that, largely often caused by their own inept decisions. So, but at any point, it's a great starting point of like, here's a scary thing where marketing companies got, it's public school to cooperate in directly marketing to kids and selling their attentions, which is kind of a frightening sort of version of the future. And it goes through into the modern day and age, and you find out one of the things that's fascinating to me is that you look at like the journey from Peretti, the guy who helped start Huffington Post, and then how he started BuzzFeed, and the idea of just creating these super. You watched 15 years ago, all these newspapers were super critical of online, and they were very proud of their Chinese walls to protect them from everything else. Those walls are gone. Their entire departments in the New York Times designed to make advertisements look like editorial content and look like this, and that those sort of standards are completely been erased. And like, well, it's how we compete. It's like, at what point do you say this is not what you want to do? But anyhow, it's a very, very interesting research thing. But he talks about one of the things that's fascinating to me is you look at BuzzFeed, and at the time of this writing, he talks about the point that like BuzzFeed, like its most profitable point at that point, it made like $10 million in profit.
Yeah.
Compared to like the billions of page views it gets, and just sort of the declining profits that are coming from creating that kind of content and doing that. So
yeah, I wondered how long nowadays it's okay, so there's certain types of ads that you don't see on the Wall Street Journal. You don't see ads for pornography sites or whatever, right? But what you do see is the ads for like a trashier strata of quote unquote news. You know, those taboola things where it's just like it's all clickbait trash articles that I assume they exist as a middle level of a funnel that eventually gets to the point where they're selling you something.
Well, yeah, I mean it's anything and everything, and that's the in one vision, the utopian vision was, oh, imagine when advertisers can better meet what we want, what we need, and that sounds great. If they want to offer me these products and services, and great, they're providing me a service, but you're forgetting it's like, yeah, and there's everybody else who wants your attention. Everybody else who wants to sell you something is going to pay even more to reach you. And so it's not just, I'm looking for shoes. How helpful is it to help me find shoes? And talk about a guy who looked up, and I want to do some of these searches, was looking at pancreatic cancer diagnoses. And the next thing you know, he's seeing ads for funeral home planning and stuff.
Well, and to be honest, I had a touch of that creepiness, or strangeness, I should say. It's an artifact of an emerging world. But we did the Ancestry DNA thing, and then the results came back, and I found out, much to my surprise, that I'm like 1/4 Irish, which I did not know. And so then...
when did you not know this?
Well, because I thought it was mainly Norwegian and English. I didn't know there was any Irish in there.
You're very Irish to me, my friend.
I
can spot him, Brian.
As well I should. Ha, ta, ta, ta. But it was a little bit weird when I saw an ad saying like, hey, man, here's the list of the most common Irish surnames. Don't you want to read that? And I was like, ooh, this is an advertisement that exists using my DNA data. It knows my DNA data and is giving me an ad based on that. I'm like, oh, we live in the future. It's very weird.
Yeah, and it's again, that's my frustration with Google and Facebook, which are amazing companies. My frustration comes from them is the fact that they were the product. We are the product they sell to advertisers, and the war they have is to get more and more data, more and more stuff. And the goal they have too is that, Facebook's goal is to get us to spend as much time as there as possible. They will intentionally irritate or antagonize us if they know it'll get us back in there to respond to a post. Google has to figure out how do they compel us, and they have billions of dollars of research and science and technology to manipulate us, which is fine. That's what I want. I want to live in a world where people can do that. I just want to be aware that they're doing that. So.
Yeah. So it's so funny how language is inherently skewed one way or the other. There's no way to express, like the very words you use to describe the actions of a company gathering data to blah, 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 kind of creates a positive or negative vibe around it, because on the one hand, you could say they're gathering your private information. And on the flip side, you could also equally accurately say they are creating a repository of the truth. Like it is a fact that your body is made from this genetic makeup of whatever. Whether or not that should be a secret, is that private data, which makes it feel one way, or is that a fact of the world, which, can lead from everything to new vaccines to, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I don't think Tabula is really trying to develop the new vaccines.
No, I agree.
And I mean, yeah, I think that if I what I do in public, it's in public, and I'm not, and if I decide to use these technologies, I'm agreeing to you get to grab this data. I understand that, and so it's why I don't spend time in Facebook, and I've turned off like certain Facebook like email messages, and they'll send it through some new Facebook service like, oh, so and so just updated this. I'm like, I told you not to send this to me, because damn it, they need you in there. If you're not in there, you're not generating eyeballs for revenue and stuff, and that's the thing that frustrates me. It's like, that Facebook feed, like you can, like they changed the feed where they were going to select the feed for you because they wanted to increase engagements and not do it by time based. And like, well, you can always switch it back. You can. And then 24 hours later, it switches to them selecting how the feed works.
No kidding.
It's like, yeah, because they know there's a cash difference. I get it. And it's like, I'm not going to play that game.
Wow.
If only Facebook would let me know when I added a new friend that I'm now connected to them on Messenger individually.
If only it would randomly ask if I know just random names.
Oh,
Just interrupt me in the middle of the day. Just ask me, hey, do you know Robert Gerfelberg? No, I don't. Thank you for asking, though.
You could be connected with them on Messenger. Also, all these errant punches on your phone will all open up the fact that there's a Snapchat-style camera to the left, just so you know.
Yeah. I never downloaded Messenger.
Yeah, you're probably better off.
I just was like, okay, I have email, I have text, Twitter. And Facebook separated it from.
It's actually a really good product. Like it's really, really fast and really responsive. Like, I mean, I don't use WeChat or anything, but I think it's. I mean, I don't want to trivialize diseases, but just imagine a awful disease, and that's what I think of Facebook Messenger.
Well, and they put it out there. I'm like, I don't need another way to do this. This is, and when they separated it from their app, I mean, they separated, make it standalone. I'm like, it's another ad. It's like this is it's blatant to me what it was for. I'm like, I don't need another means for people to get hold of me. I'm already falling behind all the other ones, and so I don't want to play this game.
Yep.
You know, so.
Not to mention, it also, like, it is an ineffective way for people. Like, it creates a channel for people to communicate with you, and then sometimes doesn't even do that. I mean, like, there was like that whole go 2 levels into Facebook Messenger, and you will find a lot of spam, but a lot of, like, when I was doing the contender thing in Des Moines, I was on New York City news, doing like an impression of Chris Christie at this diner or whatever. And so, like, I had casting directors trying to talk to me via Facebook Messenger.
Oh, man.
Wow.
And I never got. It was like 6 months.
Wow. Thanks, Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
So on that light note.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Lord Michaels. I do a show called Saturday Night Live. I'm contacting you on Facebook.
Yeah, so Attention Merchants by Tim Wu. Highly recommend this book, and understand that I don't think any of us is arguing these companies shouldn't exist, and they shouldn't. I'm not advocating we need to change the laws or whatever. It's like the dumbest thing I heard this week was Noam Chomsky, who's criticizing Neuralink and these other, initiatives by Elon Musk to develop this technology. And Chomsky's like, I don't think we should trust companies to this. These should be the government developing this.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no. Save the mind control horse crap. No.
Yeah, let's leave it to the people who have the right to use guns to enforce laws and enforce. Yeah, because, I mean, what bad could happen if the Chinese government had this?
Boy.
I'm like I'd rather, because I don't know. I mean, again, it's like Facebook Messenger. It's creepy invasive. Don't use it. Good. Problem solved. I don't want this Neuralink. Not going to use it.
I just bought it.
Hey, so we are definitely running late, so we're going to have a short after things. But real quick, my pick, Wonder Woman. I really liked it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, right on.
So glad to hear it's getting great reviews. That's wonderful. Glad to hear, because we all want good DC Universe movies.
Good DC Universe movies.
Yes, awesome. Gentlemen, it's been weird.
Callie?
All right. Ready for after things?
Yeah, we can roll straight in.
Okay. Justin, you have an out at 2 probably?
Yep.
Okay, so that's about 30 minutes.
Yep. I don't. I have no safe words.
All right. Wait 1 second. I gotta hit another button.
Damn it, Brace!
All right. You ready? All right. Take it away in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Hello.
Brian Brushwood.
I used to have 2 hands.
No, yeah, you have to tune into Journey Quest to find out what happened there if you don't know. Gentlemen, so couple interesting things. We had we were talking a little bit earlier on Weird Things about the Apple announcing their AR kit, which is if you're a developer and you want to develop applications that use augmented reality. And that's growing. We've talked a little before. I think I think it was Project Jupiter or what I think. Google has really good room sensing stuff. And just to make a point, really cool AR means that your device, your goggles, your glasses, your phone, or whatever can sense the room around you. So it's not just you just pivot your camera or your screen around and you see it. You move forward or backwards, it moves with you. And you guys have been, as HTC Vive owners, you guys have experienced this firsthand and how much more engrossing that kind of VR is. And sometimes people try, they'll do Google Cardboard, be like, oh yeah, that's cool how I turn around and you look at that and it's like, yes, but when you're room sensing, you step 2 feet forward, and it's like real life stepping 2 feet forward, and you have that whoa moment.
Well, and that's one of those things that I point out. My wife is a studio artist, and she has never experienced binocular vision. She only has one good eye. The other one is just basically she could see light and dark, and that's it. And yet she understands the difference. When she gets into the Vive, she still has an amazing experience. And that's because her entire life, she experiences 3D, but not from the strange way we do, where at any given time, either the foreground or background, there's 2 copies of them. She experiences it through parallax, through motion indicating these cues of how deep everything goes. And the idea, the fact of AR bringing true parallax and room scale on the Vive, bringing true parallax is phenomenal.
Yeah. I think that we're entering a very, very cool place. What's exciting, I thought, was that because we've talked about I made fun of the gaming backpack kind of thing because I'm my position was we're fast approaching the point where the processors and chips are getting faster. And that Apple is able to do all this on board with their existing hardware is a really, really good sign for what's going to be coming down the pipeline. Because if you can use off the shelf, well, they're custom, but if Apple can use their existing iPhones and iPads to do this, that means that, next generation Android phones or current ones, some of the ones with the faster systems, should be capable of doing this really cool room sensing kind of stuff, which then means that we're going to get better, cooler tech much faster. And we talked a bit about, one of the things we talked about was trying to explore what were the cool things you could do in AR. And Brian and Justin brought up their experience playing the VR game, the Star Trek Bridge Command game, and how you look at how popular tabletop games are in gaming, where you could have a different category of game, which we saw to an extent in this demo, which we've seen before when Microsoft showed the HoloLens. They showed Minecraft on a table, and that's. I think that I think it's going to start with these tabletop games because 2 or 3 developers could develop something really awesome. Minecraft is a game primarily. One guy picked up sort of the abandoned code project of somebody else and developed this amazing game that's become $1 billion franchise. We're going to see that. We are going to see new empires built by small teams, 2 guys, 2 girls, 2 people with an idea, some imagination, and the willingness to dive into this. I've seen on my own, experience how much easier it is to dive into a lot of these development tools now. I'm a guy that has very little programming background, but I found that with a little bit of work, you can start to understand. I had 3 years ago or 2 years ago, when I had my Oculus, a day after I had it, I was in I think it was Unreal, going in there and making 3D environments and not knowing anything about coding and other than just following tutorials. And somebody who's smarter and more dedicated is going to create some really, really cool stuff. I'm excited. And it's for individual creators. It's a great point.
Yeah, that's one of the Peter Diamandis' book, Bold. He talks about if you're building a new business, 10 years ago, you should have done what Google did and build a business assuming that eventually storage will be free, because that's what the numbers are trending towards. And sure enough, as a result, Google was able to make these insane bets where they bought used hard drives, and and sure enough, the cost did eventually go essentially to free. And now there's free storage and stuff online. And he goes on to say, assume now that if you're building a business that essentially computing power is free and unlimited, and build your platform based on that hypothesis, because if we're not there now, we're going to get there. And it seems to me certainly AR is such a curious niche of the technological world that it will reward the truly big thinkers who think, there's no way this will work today, but there'll be a time that we will have this power and we could do X, Y, and Z. And that's why I'm getting started now.
Sometimes it's being a few months ahead. Instagram became huge, even though you looked at it and you're first like, this feels like sort of a scaled down Flickr, and then you're on your iPhone and you're like, oh, well, that's cool. I guess it makes me when the cameras weren't so good on mobile phones, it makes the photo look cooler. And I know, I can like my friends' photos and they can like my stuff. And next thing you know, you have a huge social network that was at the confluence of phones getting cameras.
Right.
And I think that if you're a game developer, if you're somebody who likes tabletop or card games, who doesn't think of yourself as a programmer, you know what? You can dive in right now in a couple months, be building stuff.
Agreed.
And so I want to encourage anybody who's thinking about doing that, game development, whatever, is like, think about AR, think about this. As Brian points out, that right now it's like, well, when you've got the two giants, Google and Apple behind it, Microsoft is into it. When you've got these platforms that are now saying we support it, Apple's come out and says, ARKit's a thing, you can develop for this. That means we're going to be seeing some amazing stuff. And again, what ARKit is, what's cool about that is you've seen the stuff where you aim your phone at like a little code or some symbol and it makes the image float on top of this. ARKit says you don't need that code or symbol. It just looks at the room or the environment around you and creates its own 3D map of where you are, allowing you to place objects and stuff around there. Which
again, I mean, these are great developer examples to show, like, to stress test, okay, this is what you do. These are the parameters. For those of you looking at those demos and being like, well, I don't know. How many times am I going to need to put a lamp next to a fake cup of coffee? That sounds dumb. Like, this is literally just a test of that tech. And we have not seen it to this level with this kind of ubiquity in any way prior to what we saw today, which is rad.
I'll give you a hypothetical example. Let's say that, we sat around and we said, what would be really cool would be kind of a tabletop game where we fight dinosaurs against each other. Okay. Now, very soon we're going to see probably plugins for ARKit into Unity and Unreal, which are these game engines, which are very accessible for people to learn how to develop in. We could go in there and say, okay, we figure out our gameplay. We could go into the environment and we can say, okay, in an hour we can create our field. We can create all the little details we need there. And then we can just download 3D dinosaurs from a library. We could buy the 3D dinosaurs. We could buy those. We could program them with simple mechanics for what they behave, what they do. There's so much stuff that's already out there and built into it. It is an amazing. You can rapidly develop really, really cool stuff. The assets, even. You can buy the assets. We can say, well, let's give our dinosaurs their own look. This stuff is not. It seems, for many people listening, it may sound, that sounds really hard. Trust me, it's easier than so many other things. There's so much documentation. There's never been this much tutorial, never this much instructions on how to do this. I'm just excited because, there seemed to be a time where those 2-person, 3-person coding teams were going away. You hear about these kind of, indie titles, and then you get, along comes Notch and then, Mojang. And next thing you know, you have a phenomenon because it wasn't about making the most complex multi-role environment. It was about the gameplay.
Yeah.
Twitch JC is saying, are the calculations being done to build a 3D environment on the phone or remotely?
On the phone.
Applications, it's on the phone.
It's all on the phone. It's all on the phone. And it, your modern phone has an accelerometer so it can tell its position, where it's rotating around. The key part is then to figure out how it's moved, as Brian talks about the parallax, where you are positionally in this space as you move around. And by creating a depth map or mapping the room around you, which is what Google's been doing a lot with and Apple's been doing a lot with, it's all handled on board. We'll see how much battery drain, how much the toll is going to be on that. But the next step is you start building dedicated chips and processors for doing that, which decrease the instruction sets and how you do that. And so, what a time to be creative. What a time to be a creative. And don't be afraid to do it. I've been testing my little project Tiny.shop, which I don't know if I've talked about that much at all.
I don't think you have.
But individually I've talked. But so Tiny.shop is. I wanted to create a very easy way for anybody who wanted to basically create your own little shop if you wanted to do Amazon affiliate stuff or if you wanted to sell something you sold on PayPal. And what tiny.shop is tiny.shop. That's the full URL. You get your own. If you just sign in with Twitter, it's really easy. You can sign in like 20 seconds and it creates an account, pulls in your Twitter avatar, pulls in all that stuff so you don't have to fill anything out. And you can go into add an item. So you go to the bottom, and it's a work in process. It's extremely beta. But you click on the bottom and you add an item like, I'll go in and add like bold. I type in like bold, the book. And the next thing you know, I've got that added to my tiny shop, and we'll probably be using it for like weird things. It's just an easy place to find all that. Because it started from the fact that I thought like, man, we've made hundreds of book recommendations on this show, but they don't all live in any particular place.
Yep.
So what I've been doing with this is I reached a point where like, I have a lot of things I need to improve, and it's hard to communicate to people what to do and how to use it when you're in a vacuum. So it was last week was after the show as I actually went on Periscope and said, hey guys, help me bug test this thing, help me figure this thing out, and also help me figure out how to explain it. And so I spent about an hour and a half on Periscope. Then after that, I made a 1-minute video to explain how to use it, and it's an iterative process. And I guess that my lesson I learned was, I want to have something be perfect, but I also know that I can spend so much time going back and forth on decisions. I just don't know. I don't have the answer.
That's the Brian Tracy conundrum that's always stuck with me. He says the biggest mistake people make in business is doing extremely well that which need not be done at all. And so it's like, getting caught into bells and whistles and minutia is an easy trap to fall into.
So you're in there, by the way. So I created it where you can add stuff in, and then all of your hashtags become these selections you can choose, and you can create a collection. So I created a collection called Learning Magic, and if you click on Learning Magic, you'll see that I've listed in there Scam School and other stuff like I think are great resources. And so I wanted to make this because you get these questions like, hey, what are your books do you recommend, or what do you recommend of this, or what do you like there? And so it's a place to sort of put all of that together. And we'll see how it works out. I found it very personally useful for me so far because I've had a couple people, they ask me the same questions over and over again. But
yeah. No, I get a lot of that for tours of the home studio to book recommendations. Like, you spend 10 years spouting off about the stuff you've read. You're lucky if you hold a quarter of that at the end of that time. And people are like, what are all the books I should read? And I'm like, ooh.
Well, I've been doing this now where I created my hashtag. I had somebody ask me that. I literally said, oh, and the easiest thing was for me to actually pull it out and just pull it up like, oh, cool. And somebody's like, oh, can you send me I'll send you a link to all of my because people ask me about my setup, and I said I have a page, my podcasting setup, which is my microphone, my foam, all this sort of stuff. And that became a very, and we'll see. So, what's nice is that what you can do with this is if you have an Amazon affiliate account, you make money when somebody clicks through and buys it. If you want to sell an item, a PayPal item, you can combine stuff. Like I can put in Shopify item. I just paste in my Shopify URL from a particular item, and it's automatically in my tiny shop. So I can combine anything from any other store, just paste in. There's even a bookmarklet that will do that. So, but it's like creating your own little small business recommending stuff is the way I look at it. Versus when you do that with other places, it's like, you do it for them. So,
yeah.
If you guys tried, if you have any feedback, let me know. Again, I'm trying to. It's opaque. It's not clear. It's not obvious. I'm in that rough phase where I'm just trying to figure out how to communicate, how to build a good. What's important to me versus I had these ideas for features and exactly what Brian said. I'm like, well, I could do really cool collaborative shops and things like this and that. I'm like, I got to make the basic things simple. I got to make people understand. It's great that I know how to use it, but I made it. Right. So, but it was fun watching people. I've watched several people go use it and come and figured some of the features out, which was cool.
Yeah, no, I think you did it right. You opened it up to a group of people that are predisposed to interact with it, but also will let you know where they're confused. They'll come back to you with good feedback.
Yeah, so it's been a fun experience, and so.
And let me also just say this about this project. This is something that I know, more so than Andrew was even, saying he's been, working on and obsessing about. And I've been really, really, really impressed with where it's come because it's super functional. And, having a place where, you know, I can literally, I've had, Brian, I'm sure same thing. You've had just people ask about what's your podcasting setup, right? Like all these, you know, kind of questions. Now there can be a place where it can all just sort of live.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I look at it for if you're starting off doing a YouTube or a podcast and you're looking for ways to make money on what you're doing, that's sort of part of this was like a lot of us do recommendations and picks. It's like, you know, the idea is go create a tiny dot shop and you can give out that URL. Say, hey, if you want to see our picks or recommendations, so we used, because like Weird Things, we say go to weirdthings.com, but we've got probably 300 or 400 book recommendations spread across that many posts, which is impossible or whatever. And I'm sure I could find some WordPress plugin or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I just wanted to create a unified place for my recommendations and stuff. And so it's like kind of like a mini little business. It's a great companion if you're a podcaster or YouTuber and you want to make, how do you capitalize on this? So, you know, that's the key, is just to keep, you know, iterating on that and to figure out how to explain to people. Because I've had some people go, oh, I get it now, you know, but.
So, you know who I am going to tell about this is David Rowan does the podcast Minimum, and the way he makes a few shekels out of it is, you know, he talks about like this guest was on this show and he takes the 90-minute interview and basically gives a 3 to 4 minute synopsis and breaks it down for you. And then at the end, he says, if you want to read their book, it's at, and he gives a bit.ly link that I'm certain goes through an affiliate code. And so I'm sure right now he's having to be awfully hands-on with all that. But if there's an easy way to, you know, put his affiliate code stink on it, I'm sure he'd take you up.
Yeah.
On it.
So it's when you create your account, you go into settings and you just paste in your Amazon affiliate code once, and every product that you put up that has an Amazon affiliate code, it adds in there. And I'm working on trying to figure out how to integrate other systems that do affiliate codes. So it does that automatically. And so, yeah, and if he's interested, I'd love to talk to him too, because he's a great example of me to understand what his needs are, you know, so I could go like, okay, how do I make a great product for him? You know, because there's one thing is for me, I made a cool thing for me, and now I'm trying to figure out how to make it worthwhile for Justin and Brian, and then how do I get a guy like him on board? I would love that. And anybody else out there who's looking to use something, let me know. Tell me, you know, what your ideal is. But yeah, it's the Amazon affiliate code. Once you plug that in, it's automatic. I don't take any of that. You know, if anybody if they don't put an Amazon affiliate code, you know, that'll go to the Tiny Shop one. So question is how am I going to monetize it? Right now, you know, the monetization on it works where if nobody puts an Amazon affiliate code, it'll go to the Tiny Shop one. But that's not my big plan for it. You know, really what I want to do is if I can create a really cool system that people go to when they want to save their recommendations and make recommendations and find stuff, and that influencers use to do that, I'm not worried about monetization on it, because trying right now to figure out like different clever ways in which I can, and I've got it, you know, like if you're going in and making recommendations, and I know that you really like Brian really likes Justin's book picks, every time Brian logs in, I'm going to say, hey, Justin recommends this book, you know.
Right.
They're things that I can do in a non-creepy way and say, yeah, my friends, whatever, can kind of do that. I'm not worried, you know. I think that because I'm at a point of decision on stuff for people when they want to buy something, that's a wonderful place to be, you know, in the influence world. So if I can just keep my costs down, you know, like Author Page has been something that's been growing slowly, organically, whatever, and I just pay for the cost on that because it's a neat experiment, something to do. I don't think it'll ever have huge scale, but that's fine because there's only so many authors. You know, this, if I do it right, it could go somewhere, but in the short term, it solves a problem for me. You know, it just solves my own problem.
No, I think that's a really good place to begin, is whatever it is you do. And that's one of the things, again, on the Minimum podcast, they were talking about on Self-Made Man, they had the creator of Saddleback bags on there. And that was his first thing. He said the first Saddleback bag was, he was in Mexico and talked to a tailor and said, I want a bag that does this and that, but also has pockets for these and is double stitched here or whatever. So he made it for himself. And only after everyone kept asking, where can I get one of those, did he realize he was sitting on a business.
Yeah. 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 And I think because it's, you know, there's a concept called dog fooding, you know, which is Microsoft would come up with products, but they wouldn't even use them. Google came out with Google Plus, but they didn't want you to go. Google had the initial Android, it was a couple years, they were still, people were still using the iPhone. And eventually, Android got better and better and better. And so far more Googlers will use Android phones now, but there was a long period of time where they didn't want to use them. And even on a simple thing, if I'm like, well, I want to make a tool that's easy for, podcasters and people like YouTubers or anybody else to save their stuff. If I'm not using it, it's going to be really hard for me to convince other people to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, talking about making stuff easy, I got a pick for you. I talked
right.
about it on Night Attack, but this is something a lot of folks who are listening to After Things are probably podcasters, people who want to be able to easily distribute their content and have it sound extraordinarily good. And so it turns out the guy who pretty much invented podcasting, Adam Curry, has something called the Podcaster Pro. If you go to podcaster.curry.com, you'll find it. But it's an all-in-one kit that plugs in a couple of microphones. It's got a built-in equalizer, a built-in compressor. Shows up as an attached sound device on whatever computer you plug it into. And the quality, it's got a noise gate. It's got all the compressor stuff on there. It's fantastic. And you can make me look good if you buy the Brian Brushwood edition that I receive no money from, but it has my signature on it, if that's fun.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, it sounds very useful.
Absolutely. No, I think this is rad. And I'm excited to see it. The next time I come out to Austin, I want to bug them to take a look at everything in action.
Yeah.
Justin, you have a pick?
Yeah, you want to know what? Friend of the site, friend of all of us, good old guy, Mikey Newman does a series called Movies with Mikey. That dude put out a Patreon yesterday, and immediately I hate him because he's making all the money.
Well, and he should. His insights are phenomenal. It's a wonderful product. And
Sure. He creates an amazing product, and he's a great writer and a good editor, and his breakdowns of movies have been retweeted by the directors as insightful and excellent commentaries, including James Gunn recently with his Guardians of the Galaxy one. But oh my God, he's made like all the money in the world, and I'm thrilled for him. It is so great, and few people could deserve it better than Mikey.
So let me get this straight. So this guy started, was it YouTube or channel or whatever, and consistently put out a really, really good qualitative product with more insight than a lot of other people were doing, and kept at it for a considerable amount of time to the point that he was getting critical attention from people. The subjects of his talks were liking it, and then he decided to launch a Patreon, and it was successful.
Yeah, man.
There's like a formula there.
Except, incredibly successful. And it's Patreon, man. It's a hell of a drug. It's kind of amazing that for so many false starts that I know that we have all been through as new media kind of came out of its shell. It's amazing to kind of be on the wave of something that really, really, really changed the game, like Patreon.
It was pretty fun for us to be so early on that train, and to be, a beneficiary of the early days when nobody really knew how much should a podcast get. Like you saw the numbers, it's all transparent, but it's like, is that a big number or a small number? I don't know.
Well, I think that, and part of the lesson I think of Patreon is like you listen to, again, that'll be my I'll actually have a different pick, but when I talk about the attention merchants, and one of the things they talk about is you look at how you have this kind of internet celebrity kind of thing, and you can have millions of views, but yet it doesn't mean it's millions of dollars. It does not translate like that. And that's one of the problems. You have people who are, you talk to YouTubers who are known, but they're sharing, a studio apartment, and, Hollywood is somebody else, because the amount of revenue they're actually making is and I've made this point before, and it kind of gets sort of lost. I'm like, PewDiePie at his height was making as much as one of the stars of Big Bang Theory, which is cool, but that means that there was, 30 or 40 people on TV, which, again, to say in 2017, that's what internet fame could bring. And it makes great money, and he's got an enterprise and all that. But I'm saying this is an interesting thing. People Magazine makes more in advertising money than BuzzFeed does.
Yeah.
And that's so that. But the beautiful thing about Patreon is it came along and said, maybe you've only got 2,000 viewers on our YouTube channel, but maybe they really, really like what you're doing and they'll support you. And instead of trying to just turn their attention into, trying to just turn their attention to some other marketer, maybe the product they want is you and more of you. And Justin and I had conversations about this for years and, thinking what would different models be. And then we've talked with Brian. We've all thought about that. And Patreon came along with, and it's funny, wasn't that like Kickstarter? It's like, isn't Instagram Flickr? It's like,
right.
It's the difference. The difference is all the difference. And it's awesome. It is an awesome thing, and I feel proud to know, I think you guys are, pioneers in that. And that's, so cool. And I've watched the growth of, I have a little project, Magic Club, which I do with my buddy Jordan Gold. And we're doing a very, very just keep doing episodes, slow growth, but every week we're getting 3 or 4 more people. Every week we're watching that growth. And I told Jordan, I said, dude, it's not going to be a month from now. It's going to be overnight. It is going to be you just want to make sure that you have you just keep consistently every week putting in. We're still learning our pacing on that, but we've watched it grow and grow and grow and grow. And now we're at $60 an episode or $70 an episode or something, for something that's, 8 weeks old, 9 weeks old. I'm thrilled. Super. And we haven't been driving the drum too much, so.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the weird parts of the early days is, yes, your first podcast is going to be your worst podcast, but you need to do it so that you have a back catalog for people to discover when your first viral hit happens. Like more than at any other time, we see the formula of here's how to become an overnight success. Have 10 years of back catalog of episodes, and then when it hits, people will dive in. Like we were talking about when it comes to writing novels. The best way to promote your old book is to release your new book. And then when people discover your writing and fall in love, they're going to read the whole back catalog.
I know Justin has to bail out, but I'm going to make a longer point that may. Do you need to go now, Justin? Or?
Yeah, I'm getting called by Scott.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to just wrap this up with Brian. One of the things I've noticed, and thank you, sir. One of the things that I've noticed, and I think that, and it just relates to a book I just started reading, which is good, is I have a friend who's been giving us some advice on, this is how you need to grow Magic Club. And I'm like, that's how you grow a YouTube channel. And I understand that. Our goal is to grow really a Patreon community, and not to say that those are exclusive, but if our focus, we're not looking at, we want to get 1 million views for Magic Club, which yes, could drive towards Patreon. We want to create this other thing where if we never top 10,000 views on our show, but we're having a really good Patreon support, that's more valuable.
Well, and that's the thing is that, you can either go wide or deep. And what you're doing is drilling down very, very deep by creating a very exclusive environment where you are providing a service and an environment that does not exist anymore. The local Magic Club is pretty much dead. The local Magic Club used to be the place where you could learn all the deep details. You could talk to anyone. They would give you insights, and they would freely share information that will make all of your performances better. There's no analog to that in the video world. There's a couple of message forum boards where everybody speaks in coded talk that's just juvenile and dumb. And then there's Scam School is playing wide. It's like there's a hard deck of a depth of difficulty to tricks on Scam School that I will never teach on Scam School because it exceeds what the average beginner, I want to minimize collateral damage. I don't want anybody to be a casual fan of Magic and watch something that is of an advanced level where all it really does is rob them of the mystery and essentially tip the method to them, but in a way that they're not going to be able to do tonight. So as a result, I have to keep the lessons all very elementary, but the flip of the other side of that is that I can send it to the entire world. I can even take out ads and say, hey, if you want to know how to make this card appear, click here. And there's zero cost entry because everything is something that they could do at home. Whereas the level that you want to talk about on Magic Club is deep enough that you need that wall so that people know this is the inside stuff, this is the advanced stuff, and that it doesn't belong a mile wide.
we've had, and that's where we looked at the niche is sort of like, because I go, okay, what are people doing really well? And I think, and like I refer people to Scam School all the time because I think you're a fantastic teacher and it's a well-produced product, great produced product. And I was thinking like, yeah, the hard and the thing that like you just said is like it's harder for you to go in, and there would be a much tinier audience to say, let's go into the pass. Let's really talk more detailed about the pass. And, I've had a couple people on here amazing at it. And it's a thing I play with. And then like I watch, I'm like, oh, man, I'll use this now. But the audience for that is small. It's, anybody who gets into Magic and wants to continue it on a further level. But you got to spend 30 or 40 minutes watching a couple guys on Skype doing this to really grasp it. And that's its own little thing. So the response has been wonderful. The people who've been subscribing to have been great, and it felt good to be sort of to have that kind of, yes, this is what we like, and it fills a different niche than what's out there. And we've had the criticism we've had was somebody we both know who's into Magic like says, oh, I feel like you guys should be hyping this stuff up more about what the tricks are because it doesn't feel like it's much of an appeal. And I'm like, we're not Penguin. We're not trying to hype you some new trick you'll forget in a week. And we need to illustrate more. We're teaching you some cool new stuff and some fundamentals and stuff. But if you're not on board for that, we're not, that's not what we're not going to try to sell you, this amazing new thing that you'll forget about. We're getting deep into, really deep into rubber band stuff and great technique. Like you think, Crazy Man's handcuffs, watch Jordan teach it to you. And you're like, holy cow, this is so much more into it and stuff. So, my pick, sir, is, and I just started reading this, but so far I've enjoyed it, although it's the authors are reading the book and
oh dear. I think it was bold that you lost your mind. You couldn't handle Diamandis's mouth sounds.
It wasn't Diamandis who did bold though. It was the other guy.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. There was some. It's like I'm like listen. I'm technically an on-camera personality, done commercials, I've done voiceover work, I've done this sort of stuff when it comes to my books. Now, if I were to do a nonfiction book or whatever, I might consider doing it, but I would only do that after serious consideration because I appreciate that. And I've been working, I've got, Station Breakers coming out in a couple weeks on audiobook. Guy who's doing the audio for that's fantastic. He's great. This guy's he's real. He's like the real deal, and I'm thrilled that he's going to be the voice of David Dixon, and it's going to bring a great element to it. And I have to sometimes get past that when I start listening to an audiobook because when I hear read by the author, I just go.
Can I tell you, that's why I still have not read. Anyone who's listened to the show knows that I love the Dark Tower series. I still have not read Wind Through the Keyhole, the latest Dark Tower adventure, because when it came out, it said read by the author. And I'm like, ooh, and we're done.
It's not always a plus and that. And so, but anyhow, I've been listening to one, but I've got past that. And it's like you can tell they're getting better as they get into it and all that. So, and that's a totally different audiobook. Nothing to do with the one I'm about to talk to right now.
Okay.
Have you read Growth Hacking?
The Growth Hacker Marketing by Ryan Holiday, or
no?
Is this a different one?
This is Hacking Growth, rather, by Sean Ellis and Morgan Brown.
Okay.
Hacking Growth, rather. I like the Holiday book. I enjoyed the Holiday book. I would say this book, Hacker Growth, it defines a different definition of it than I think Holiday did. And I would say that this felt Holiday's book is very good, but Holiday's book felt more like, well, this is how you market in the 21st century. Hacking Growth is really about hacking and coding for growth. Starts off with very specific examples of how, and not just like this is because like some of it in growth hacking has become this catch-all term. And I met people like, oh, I'm a growth hacker. I'm like, oh, what are you coding? What? I'm like, well, are you just using that because it sounds cool?
He's like, yeah, man, that's my hack. That's how I hack the system.
Where this gets into and explains like when LinkedIn said, hey, you've loaded LinkedIn, let's add everybody from your address book into LinkedIn, right? That's a growth hack. That was a piece of code designed to grow it. It was annoying, and I did not like that they did that, but I got it. Understood why. When Airbnb said, hey, they're having no traction, they wrote some code that automatically listed every Airbnb listing on Craigslist. They coded a thing, and boom. And so growth hacking, as described by them, is kind of like building tools and automation and stuff for growth, not just, hey, we got a new marketing plan, we figured out this clever thing. It's we created a piece of tech to do this,
right?
Or came up with some sort of thing. So it's cool, but not to say it doesn't. The other parts aren't value, but I really, really enjoy the first part of what they're getting into. I'm like, oh yeah, this is because they also talk about like when Facebook was trying to increase their engagement and they had to think about how do we increase our growth? Like, well, we need to go internationally. We're at like 40 million in the US. We need to go internationally. Traditionally, what you would do is you would have, 10-person teams for each country you want to do who would code your site and do whatever. Facebook came up with a system where basically it could rewrite all the code on all the different sites based upon like user input, and they let the users basically interpret it and do it. And they had a much bigger, massive rollout. And you watch the curve of Facebook's growth from when they did this and after, and they put together a team of programmers and marketing and branding people together. So there were coders in the room, and coders there saying, we could do this. And then you go, oh, didn't even know that. And that's how many times have you said the most simple thing to somebody and they go, that's even possible?
Right.
Right. So I like that frame of thinking. I think that's why we get really cool things. That's where, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, the Larry Pages of the world, the Sergey Brins and Elon Musk come about. They go, we could do this. There's a technology way we could apply this. And all of a sudden, not everything has that answer in that. So I'm enjoying it so far.
Right on. Dude, that's fantastic.
So, we're good. We're good.
Dude, we're not just good. We're the best.
Yeah, we are the best. Better. Two-man show is much better.
Hey, man, keep your questions coming at us. Hit us up, neshcom@gmail.com with the subject heading After Things. If you have a question as an independent creator, we want to answer it for you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's been after.
Cool.
It's been after. It's after.
Alrighty, guys.
All right, quick break. Real quick, since we have a piece of the hive mind around there, does anyone have a recommendation for opening video clip for Cord Killers today? Is there something that everyone's talking about?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm asking out loud to you, but I'm really asking folks in the audience.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying. Post a link in that there chat. Hit me up in that chat.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Bryce, thank you.
Good job, Andrew. Space Team.
Something that we're getting. That's So Raven is getting a Girl Meets... Well, yeah, they're bringing back That's So Raven.
Did I tell you, the first time I ever saw Zach Galifianakis was when he was on Dog Bites Man, which was kind of a half Borat show, half scripted comedy, right? And so they would have material that was written, but they would execute it on people who didn't know that this wasn't an actual news crew.
Yeah.
And so like they're sitting there in backstage, and while it's going on, he's in the production room, and he's like, and he's flipping channels. He goes, that's so Raven. And he's like, sometimes I'll do something and I'll think, that's so Raven. And he goes, and other times I'll do something and I'll think, that wasn't very Raven.
Yeah, we've got like a commercial, I guess.
They say home is where the heart is. Yeah, we got heart and a whole bunch else.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, where do you keep your bras? That's why I need privacy. There's my twin sister. It's me time! My mom. Mom's best friend. Where's my kiss? Her kid. Make good choices. Our neighbor. Yo, what up, kids? And then there are my psychic visions.
Number 28.
Levi, I saw the future. The weirdest thing happened.
It's not always about you, Booker.
Raven's home.
A new series coming to Disney.
Is that Raven Channel. As an adult? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, they're doing that. Got it.
Girl
That's the Raven
World.
is getting the Girl Meets World treatment. Got it.
That'll be weird because she she had powers. It would be weird if they play it off as her not understanding
that he's got a gift or whatever. Yeah.
Because she, yeah.
Huh.
I also guess that they couldn't get that guy.
All right. Well, I got to hop on Cord Killers. The Cord Killing Tip. Special guest. Who do you have today?
I don't know.
Let me take a look. Let me take a look. Looks like
no guest.
No guest.
Question mark.
Cool. No guest? Question mark.
My favorite. All right. Bye, guys.